Chapter 1 Mia. The bass from Howl nightclub pounded through my body as I adjusted my black cocktail dress for the 10th time. Tonight was everything I'd worked toward for 10 years. 10 years of training. 10 years of planning. 10 years of hate. "You're fidgeting again," Kira whispered, sliding next to me at the bar. As my only friend and handler, she was the only one who knew why I was really here. Can you blame me? He's right there. I tilted my head toward the VIP section. Ryan Mitchell, alpha werewolf, notorious playboy, son of the monster who slaughtered my family. He lounged on a velvet couch surrounded by beautiful women. His dark hair fell carelessly across his forehead as he threw his head back and laughed at something one of his pack members said. I'd seen his photos before, but they didn't capture his raw presence. Even from across the room, I could feel the power radiating from him. "Remember the plan," Kira said, snapping me back to reality. "You're just the new event coordinator. Nothing more." "I know. Get close, gather information, then destroy his pack from the inside out." I took a steadying breath. "For my family." "For your family," she echoed. "Now go make your rounds. And Mia, don't let him touch you. The mate pull is strongest with physical contact." I nodded and moved through the crowd. My first night as HOWL's new event coordinator was going perfectly. No one suspected I was actually Amelia Carter, the girl who escaped the Mitchell Pax attack 10 years ago. The girl who watched her parents and little brother get torn apart by wolves. I mingled with staff, checking that everything ran smoothly. My new job was perfect cover to access the Mitchell compound and gather information. I'd gradually work my way closer to Ryan and his inner circle until I had enough to bring them all down. "The bar needs more champagne for table 7, I told one of the bartenders, making a note on my tablet. That's when I felt it, a prickling sensation on the back of my neck. I was being watched. I turned slowly and my breath caught. Ryan Mitchell was staring directly at me from across the room, his brow furrowed in curiosity. Our eyes locked, and something electric shot through me. Asterisk no. Impossible. Asterisk. I broke eye contact first, turning back to the bar. This wasn't part of the plan. He wasn't supposed to notice me yet. "Who's that?" I heard him ask one of his pack members, his voice carrying to my sensitive werewolf ears. "New event coordinator. Started today." "Interesting. She's not responding like the others." I risked another glance. Most women in his vicinity were either openly staring or pretending not to while shooting hopeful looks his way. I was doing neither. "Maybe she's immune," his friend joked. Ryan's eyes narrowed. "No one's immune." I swallowed hard and moved toward the back rooms, checking inventory like my job required. I needed space from those intense eyes. 20 minutes later, I was reviewing the liquor stock when a rich, masculine scent hit me. Cedar, wild rain, and something dangerously addictive. I didn't need to turn around. "You're in my way," I said flatly. Ryan Mitchell leaned against the doorframe, blocking my exit. Up close, he was even more devastating, tall and powerfully built, with eyes that shifted between green and gold. "You're new." It wasn't a question. "And you're observant." I kept my tone professional but cool. His lips twitched with amusement. "I make it a point to know everyone who works for me. Then you should know I'm trying to do my job." I gestured to the clipboard in my hand. "We're running low on the premium vodka, and Table 9 has been waiting on their bottle service." Instead of moving, he stepped closer. "What's your name?" "Mia Walker." The fake last name felt bitter on my tongue. "Mia," he repeated, like he was tasting it. "You don't seem very impressed to be talking to me." I raised an eyebrow. "Should I be?" A surprised laugh escaped him. "Most women are." "I'm not most women." I stepped forward, intending to move past him. He shifted at the same moment, and my shoulder bumped his chest. A jolt of awareness shot through me like lightning, hot and unexpected. I stumbled, and his hand shot out to steady me, grasping my bare arm. The contact burned, sending waves of something primal through my veins. I jerked away, like I'd been shocked. His eyes widened slightly. He felt it too. Asterisk no, no, no. This can't happen. Asterisk. I needed to regain control. With deliberate movement, I picked up my tray of empty glasses and stepped toward him again. This time, I accidentally tipped the tray, sending ice and drink remnants down the front of his obviously expensive shirt. "Oh," I gasped with fake concern. "I'm so sorry. How clumsy of me." His face registered shock, then something that looked suspiciously like delight. "No harm done," he said, looking down at his soaked shirt with amusement rather than anger. "Though this is a first." I grabbed a napkin and half-heartedly dabbed at his chest, careful to press the napkin between my fingers and his shirt to avoid direct contact. "I really am sorry, Mr. Mitchell. It won't happen again." "Ryan," he corrected, "and I certainly hope it does. Things just got a lot more interesting around here." He stepped aside, finally letting me pass. I hurried away, feeling his eyes on my back like a physical touch. As I rounded the corner, I pressed my back against the wall, my heart hammering. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I was supposed to be invisible until I chose to be seen. But somehow, on my very first night, Ryan Mitchell had not only noticed me, he was intrigued by me. Even worse, my body had responded to his touch in a way I hadn't anticipated. The stories about werewolf mate pools couldn't be true. Not with him. Not with my family's killer. I looked down at my hand, which still tingled from the brief contact with his skin. 10 years of planning, and I was already off script. But I could adapt. If Ryan Mitchell wanted to keep an eye on me, fine. I'd use his interest to get closer, to learn his weaknesses, to find exactly where to strike to bring his entire world crashing down. Let him think he was the hunter. He had no idea he was actually the prey. Chapter 2. Ryan. I couldn't stop thinking about her. 3 days since our encounter at HOWL, and Mia Walker's face kept appearing in my mind. The way she looked at me, not with hunger or fear, or even respect, but with cool indifference, was driving me crazy. "You're staring at nothing again," Lucas said, throwing a bottled water at me as we finished our morning border patrol. As my beta, he rarely held back his opinions. "Is this still about that new girl?" I caught the bottle midair without looking. She spilled a drink on me. "And that's good." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "It's different." I grinned. "When was the last time a woman didn't fall all over herself around me?" "Your humility is truly inspiring," he deadpanned. "Maybe she's just professional." I shook my head. "It's more than that. She's blocking me somehow." Most werewolves could sense each other's emotions, especially alphas like me. But Mia was a blank wall. Even when I touched her arm, I got nothing but a strange jolt of something. "You're overthinking this," Lucas said as we approached the wood's edge. "Not every woman has to want you." "It's not about that." But wasn't it? The wolf inside me was used to being the unchallenged alpha in every room. Mia's immunity to my charm was like a direct challenge to my dominance. My phone buzzed with a notification from the security system. I pulled it out, scanning the alert. "Pack meeting in 10, I told Lucas. I need to make a quick stop first." I found her in the main office, organizing promotional materials for the next full moon party at HOWL. She wore a simple blue blouse and jeans, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup, no pretense. Still stunning. She stiffened slightly when I entered. She knew I was there without turning around. "Interesting. Mr. Mitchell," she said, continuing to sort papers. "Ryan," I corrected again, moving to lean against her desk. "How's your second week going?" "Fine. The full moon event is on track." Her voice was professional but distant. "Good to hear. I'd like you to attend the pack meeting this morning." That got her attention. She looked up, suspicion in her eyes. "Pack meeting? I'm just the event coordinator." "Who needs to understand pack dynamics to do her job effectively?" I countered. "Besides, you'll be working closely with my inner circle. Time you got to know them." She hesitated, and I resisted the urge to push harder. Something told me the more I pushed, the more she'd pull away. "Fine," she finally said. As we walked toward the main house, I noticed how she kept precise distance between us. Not close enough for accidental contact, not far enough to seem deliberately avoidant. "You're not from around here," I said. No. Going to elaborate? Not really. But the corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. Progress. The pack meeting was routine. Territory reports, upcoming full moon preparations, some minor disputes to settle. Throughout it all, I was hyper-aware of Mia, sitting quietly in the corner, observing everything with those sharp eyes. Afterward, as everyone dispersed, I was pulled into conversation with the elders. When I looked up again, Mia was gone. Lost your new toy? Lucas teased. I growled low in my throat, and he raised his hands in surrender. Perimeter check in 30, I said instead of rising to his bait. Full pack run. The afternoon air was crisp as 20 wolves moved through the forest in formation. In wolf form, pack hierarchies were more pronounced. As alpha, I ran point with Lucas and the other senior wolves flanking me. I caught Mia's scent before I saw her. She'd shifted too, a sleek wolf with unusual silver-tipped gray fur. She kept to the edges of the group, neither challenging the hierarchy nor submitting completely. Halfway through our patrol, a high-pitched yelp cut through the forest. One of the younger wolves, Ellie, barely 17, had wandered off path. I changed direction, immediately the pack following. We found Ellie thrashing on the ground, her back leg caught in a metal trap. The rusted teeth bit deep into her flesh, and the scent of her blood filled the air. Before I could reach her, a gray blur shot past me. Mia was already there, shifting seamlessly back to human form, naked and focused solely on the wounded wolf. Stay still, she commanded Ellie, who whimpered but obeyed. With practiced movements, Mia examined the trap. It's old but still strong. I need leverage. I shifted back to human form, ignoring my own nakedness, and grabbed a thick branch. Together, we pried the jaws of the trap open until Ellie could pull her mangled leg free. The young wolf shifted to human form, crying in pain as blood continued to flow from the deep puncture wounds. We need to stop the bleeding, I said, already tearing a strip from a shirt someone had thrown to me. No, Mia countered, pulling plants from the forest floor. These will prevent infection better than cloth. She crushed leaves between her palms and applied them directly to the wound, then bound it with strips of bark. Her movements were confident, like she'd done this many times before. How did you know to do that? I asked as Lucas and 2 others carefully lifted Ellie. Mia's eyes met mine, then quickly looked away. You learn to survive when you have to. The words held weight, like stones dropping into still water. For the first time, I wondered what had shaped her into this guarded, capable woman. Back at the compound, after Ellie was treated by our pack doctor, I found Mia alone on the back porch, staring into the forest. Thank you, I said, for helping Ellie. She shrugged. Anyone would have. Not with that level of skill. I sat beside her, noting how she shifted slightly away. Where did you learn wilderness medicine? A long pause. My father taught me, she finally said. The admission seemed to cost her something. He sounds like a good man. He was. Her voice hardened. He's dead now. The simple statement hung between us, and I resisted the urge to touch her, to offer comfort she clearly didn't want from me. I'm sorry. She looked surprised at my words, as if genuine sympathy was the last thing she expected. It was a long time ago. She stood abruptly. I should check on the event plans. Have dinner with me, I said impulsively. She froze. What? Dinner. In my quarters, to discuss your ideas for HOWL. Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. Is that standard practice for all your employees? I grinned. Only the ones who spill drinks on me and then save young pack members. A smile ghosted across her lips before she could stop it. Fine, but it's a business dinner. Of course, I agreed, trying not to look too pleased with myself. As she walked away, Lucas appeared at my side, playing with fire there. Alpha. How so? There's something off about her. Too controlled. Too watchful. I'd noticed it too, the way her eyes cataloged exits, the way she observed pack dynamics, like she was filing information away. I know, I admitted, that's what makes her interesting. Be careful, Lucas warned. The last thing we need is another Emma situation. I winced at the mention of my last disastrous attempt at dating. This is different. But as I watched Mia disappear into the main house, I wondered if Lucas was right. There was something about Mia Walker that didn't quite add up, and my wolf was determined to figure out exactly what it was. Chapter 3, Mia. Ryan Mitchell's private quarters were nothing like I expected. I'd imagined something pretentious and showy, a playboy's den with expensive liquor and tacky furniture. Instead, I stood in a surprisingly cozy living space filled with books, maps, and hand-carved wooden furniture. Disappointed, Ryan asked, catching my expression as he emerged from the kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. Surprised, I admitted accepting the glass but not drinking. This doesn't match your public image. He shrugged, settling into a worn leather armchair. Maybe the public image is just that, an image. I ran my fingers along a shelf of well-read books on pack history, territorial management, and werewolf law. Not exactly light reading for a supposed party boy alpha. So, the whole Playboy thing is what, a cover? I wouldn't say that. His smile turned wolfish. I enjoy a good time as much as anyone, but there's more to being alpha than most people see. I took a careful seat on the edge of the couch, maintaining distance. This meeting had 2 purposes for me: plant surveillance devices and gather information. I'd already tucked a tiny microphone into a bookshelf while pretending to admire his collection. "HOWL seems to be doing well," I said, steering the conversation to business. "It is, but I'm considering expanding our interests in the human business world." I raised an eyebrow. Looking to build an empire? Looking to secure my pack's future? His voice turned serious. A strong economic foundation gives us freedom and protection. It was hard to reconcile this thoughtful leader with the monster I'd built up in my head. The son of the wolf who'd torn my family apart shouldn't be talking about long-term pack stability. He should be cruel, selfish, power-hungry. The confusion must have shown on my face. "What?" he asked. "Nothing." I took a sip of wine to cover my reaction. "I just didn't expect you to be so strategic." A loud knock interrupted us before he could respond. The door burst open, and a tall, broad-shouldered man with a permanent scowl stormed in. "We've got trouble on the eastern border," he announced without preamble. Then his eyes narrowed when he spotted me. "Private pack business, Alpha." Ryan didn't move. "Mia can stay, Marcus. She works for us now." The man, Marcus, glared at me. "Since when do we discuss security issues with employees? Especially new ones we know nothing about." I started to stand. "I can go." "Stay," Ryan commanded, his voice carrying the unmistakable weight of an alpha order. Though it wasn't directed at me, I felt its power. Marcus is my head of security and sometimes forgets his manners. Marcus wasn't backing down. The Black Moon Pack left 3 dead deer on our borderline. Their heads were removed. I stiffened, a traditional werewolf warning. The Black Moon Pack was sending a message. When? Ryan asked, all business now. "An hour ago. Jay and Trent found them during patrol." Ryan set down his glass and moved to a large map pinned to the wall. "3rd incident this month. They're testing us, seeing how we'll respond." "We should respond with force," Marcus growled. "Show them we won't be intimidated." "And start a territory war?" Ryan shook his head. "Not yet." I watched him study the map, his finger tracing territory lines. The concentration on his face made him look older, more serious, a far cry from the carefree playboy at the club. "We'll double patrols on the eastern border," he decided, "but no direct confrontation unless they cross the line. I want to know what they're after." "They're after what all rival packs want," Marcus snapped. "More territory, more power." "Perhaps," Ryan murmured, not sounding convinced. "Get the patrol schedule adjusted. I'll contact their alpha tomorrow." Marcus nodded reluctantly, then shot me another suspicious look before leaving. The door slammed behind him. "Sorry about that," Ryan said, returning to his seat. "He doesn't trust me," I observed. "Marcus doesn't trust anyone. It's why he's good at his job." Ryan studied me over the rim of his glass. But he has a point. I don't know much about you. I tensed. What do you want to know? Where are you from? Where's your pack? Questions I'd prepared for. Oregon originally. My pack was small, mostly family. They're gone now. Not a complete lie. My family had been my pack, and they were gone, murdered by Ryan's father. All of them. His voice softened with what sounded like genuine sympathy. I nodded, hating the pity in his eyes. I didn't want his sympathy. I wanted his destruction. Is that why you came here? Looking for a new pack? I came here for a job, I said firmly. I'm not looking to join a pack. A lone wolf was unusual in our world, but not unheard of. Still, I could see the question in his eyes. What would make a young female wolf choose solitude over pack protection? Before he could press further, a young woman burst in without knocking. Tears streamed down her face. Alpha, please. They're saying I can't participate in the moon ceremony. Ryan was on his feet, immediately. Slow down, Ellie. What's happening? It was the young wolf who'd been caught in the trap. Her leg was bandaged, but she moved without limping. Jordan said, I'm not allowed at the ceremony, because I got trapped like a stupid pup. He said, I embarrassed the pack. Ryan's expression darkened. Where is he? Training yard, she sniffled. With the other guys. Stay here. Ryan's voice was gentle with her, but carried an undercurrent of anger. He turned to me. I need to handle this. Will you stay with her? I nodded, surprised by the request. Ryan stalked out, his posture radiating controlled fury. He's going to yell at Jordan, isn't he? Ellie asked, looking worried despite her tears. Probably, I admitted, offering her a tissue from my purse. Jordan's his cousin, she explained. He thinks that makes him special. I patted the couch beside me and she sat down. How's your leg? Better, thanks to you. She wiped her eyes. The doctor said your herbs prevented infection. I smiled slightly. My father taught me. Your pack must be proud to have a healer. The innocent comment stung. I'm not with my pack anymore. Her eyes widened. You're alone? That's so brave. I could never. Brave wasn't the word I'd use. Obsessed, driven, broken. The ceremony is important to you? I asked, changing the subject. She nodded enthusiastically. It's my first as an adult wolf. We run together, hunt together. She trailed off, blushing slightly. It's special. I remembered my own first ceremony, my parents proudly watching as I joined the adult wolves. It was the last one we'd celebrated before the Mitchells attacked. The door opened, and Ryan returned, his face still tight with anger. It's handled, he told Ellie. You'll participate in the ceremony as planned. She jumped up with a squeal and hugged him tightly. Thank you, Alpha. He smiled, the anger melting away as he patted her back. Go find Sarah. She's looking for you. After Ellie bounded out, Ryan sighed heavily. Sorry about the interruptions. What did you do to Jordan? I asked, genuinely curious. Put him on scut duty for a month and reminded him that pack strength isn't about physical dominance. His eyes met mine. A pack is only as strong as its most vulnerable member. The words startled me. They sounded exactly like something my father used to say, and just like that, my carefully constructed image of the enemy began to crack. Ryan Mitchell wasn't the monster I'd expected. He was protective of his pack, thoughtful about their future, and kind to their weakest members, which only made my mission more complicated, because destroying a monster was one thing. Destroying a good alpha was another matter entirely. Chapter 4, Ryan. 3 weeks after Mia joined the pack, I still couldn't figure her out. She did her job exceptionally well. HOWL's events were more successful than ever, and she'd somehow gained the trust of even the most reserved pack members. But whenever I got close, she retreated behind that professional mask. You're obsessing, Lucas commented as we finished our nightly run through the territory. We'd shifted back to human form at the edge of the forest, pulling on the clothes we'd stashed earlier. I'm not obsessing, I growled, yanking a t-shirt over my head. You've mentioned her name 12 times tonight. I have not. Lucas started counting on his fingers. When we passed the club, When we saw those herbs, she showed Ellie, when we discussed the full moon plans, when... Fine, I cut him off. I'm curious about her. She's different. The moon hung nearly full in the sky, its pull making my skin tingle with anticipation. Only 2 more nights until we'd run as a pack under its full light. Different how? Lucas asked, suddenly serious. Besides the obvious. I paused, considering. She holds back. Not just from me. From everyone. Like she's afraid to connect. Or like she's hiding something. Lucas had never fully trusted Mia, though he'd grudgingly admitted she was good at her job. Before I could respond, the wind shifted, bringing a familiar scent, wild roses and rain. Mia. And she was in wolf form, somewhere deep in our territory. Alone. At night. 2 days before the full moon when control was hardest. Go ahead without me, I told Lucas, already pulling off the shirt I'd just put on. Ryan, I just want to make sure she's safe. I kicked off my jeans and felt the change ripple through me. The shift was always easiest near the full moon. My bones cracked and reshaped, sprouted along my skin, and in seconds I stood on 4 paws instead of 2 feet. My senses sharpened, the forest coming alive with sounds and smells humans could never detect. Lucas shook his head but didn't try to stop me as I bounded into the trees, following Mia's distinct scent. I tracked her for nearly 2 miles, deeper into the territory than most pack members ventured. Her path was erratic, not a patrol route or hunting trail. She was just running, like she needed to escape something. Finally, I spotted her, a sleek gray form slipping between moonlit trees. I stayed downwind, watching. She moved with unusual grace, even for a werewolf, her silver tipped for catching the moonlight. She stopped at a small clearing, shifting back to human form in one fluid motion. Naked, under the moonlight, she was breathtaking, all lean muscle and quiet strength. But it was the expression on her face that held me transfixed. Grief, raw and unguarded in a way I'd never seen from her. I should have left then, given her privacy. Instead, I stepped forward, a twig snapping under my paw. Her head whipped around, vulnerability instantly replaced by alertness. She didn't cover herself or shift back. There was no shame in nakedness among werewolves, but her eyes narrowed as she recognized me. Spine Alpha? Her voice was cool, but I could hear her elevated heartbeat. I shifted back to human form, standing as naked as she was at the edge of the clearing, ensuring my pack's safety. I can take care of myself. I've noticed, I said dryly, approaching slowly, but you're far from a compound. There have been reports of Black Moon scouts crossing our boundaries. She crossed her arms. I needed space to think. About what? Her eyes flashed with annoyance. Private things. Nothing's really private in a pack, I reminded her gently. I'm not part of your pack, she shot back. The words stung more than they should have. You've been here almost a month. You eat with us, run with us, work with us. What would you call it? Employment, she said flatly. I work for you. I don't belong to you. I stepped closer, close enough to see the golden flecks in her dark eyes. Is that what you think pack means? Belonging to someone? Something shifted in her expression, a flicker of old pain. Isn't it? The mighty alpha decides everything. Where to live, who to associate with, how to behave. That's not... I stopped, realizing her experience might have been very different from mine. A good alpha protects and guides. They don't control. So, I'm free to leave any time? The question felt like a test. Of course. This isn't a prison, Mia. She studied me like she was trying to detect a lie. The moonlight cast half her face in shadow, making her expression unreadable. Your father, I said carefully. Was he your alpha? A flash of pain crossed her face. Yes. And was he a good one? Her voice softened. The best. He led with kindness, not force. Then you know not all alphas are tyrants. She looked away. He was the exception. The bitterness in her voice made me wonder what she'd experienced after losing her family. A lone wolf, especially a young female, would have been vulnerable. Had she fallen under the control of a cruel alpha? The thought made my wolf bristle with protective fury. Is that why you prefer being alone? Because of what happened after you lost your pack? Her head snapped up. You don't know anything about what happened to me. Then, tell me, I said softly. For a moment, I thought she might. Something in her eyes wavered, like she was considering trusting me with a piece of her truth. Then, a howl pierced the night, distress call from a pack member. Both our heads turned toward the sound. East border, I said, already shifting back to wolf form. Mia didn't hesitate, smoothly transitioning back to her wolf. Together, we raced toward the call, our temporary connection formed by shared purpose. We arrived to find 2 of our youngest wolves cornered by 3 larger wolves with unfamiliar scents. Black Moon Pack. They'd crossed our border. I snarled, for bristling as I placed myself between them and our pack members. Mia flanked me, her stance mirroring mine perfectly without any communication. The largest Black Moon wolf, clearly their leader, bared his teeth in challenge. 3 against 2, and our youngsters were too inexperienced to help. Mia and I exchanged a glance, and somehow I knew exactly what she was thinking. I lunged at the leader while she spun toward the other 2, creating space for our young wolves to retreat. What followed was the most synchronized fight I'd ever experienced. Without words or signals, Mia and I moved like we'd been fighting together for years. When I feinted left, she was already circling right. When she drove one wolf back, I was there to block its escape. The Black Moon wolves were strong but uncoordinated. Within minutes, their leader was bleeding from multiple bites, clearly outmatched. He retreated with a final snarl, his packmates following. As the adrenaline faded, I became aware of something extraordinary. I could feel Mia, not just physically beside me, but mentally, a whisper of her thoughts, her emotions, the beginnings of a bond. She felt it too. I saw the shock in her wolf eyes before she abruptly shut down, the connection snapping closed like a door slammed in my face. She shifted to human form, and I followed suit. The young wolves remained in animal form, whimpering their thanks. Go home, I told them. We'll discuss your punishment for being out here alone tomorrow. After they disappeared into the trees, I turned to Mia. Her face was carefully blank, but her hands trembled slightly. I began. A coincidence, she cut me off. We both have combat training. It was more than that, I insisted. You felt it too. The connection. There is no connection, she snapped, but her racing heart betrayed the lie. We just happened to fight well together. I stepped closer, driven by instinct and the lingering traces of our mental link. Mia, what just happened is rare. Even mated pairs can't always. Don't, she interrupted, her voice ragged. Don't say that word. Mates. I deliberately pushed. Is that what scares you? Her laugh was bitter. You have no idea what scares me, Ryan Mitchell. The way she said my full name sounded almost like an accusation. Then tell me, I challenged, moving closer still. What are you so afraid of? Maybe it was the full moon's approach weakening her defenses, or the aftermath of the fight, but something in her finally cracked. You, she burst out. I'm afraid of you and what you make me feel, and how it ruins everything. The confession hung between us, raw and real, the first completely honest thing she'd said to me. Without thinking, I reached for her, pulling her against me. She stiffened but didn't pull away, her skin burning hot against mine. Mia, I whispered, tilting her face up to mine. For one heartbeat, she softened, her eyes meeting mine with naked longing. Then she jerked back like I'd burned her. This can't happen, she said, her voice shaking. Whatever this is, whatever you think is happening between us, it can't. Before I could respond, she shifted back to wolf form and sprinted into the darkness, leaving me alone under the nearly full moon, more confused than ever, and absolutely certain of one thing. Mia Walker was meant to be mine, whether she wanted to admit it or not. Chapter 5, Mia. I avoided Ryan for the next 2 days. It wasn't easy. The full moon approached, and the entire pack buzzed with preparations for the sacred ritual. As event coordinator, I should have been working closely with the Alpha, but I delegated and rescheduled and made myself scarce whenever it came around. The night in the forest had shaken me to my core. Fighting alongside Ryan, I'd felt something I never expected, a connection so deep it terrified me. For a brief, stunning moment, I could sense his thoughts, feel his movements before he made them. The beginning of a mate bond. The very thing I'd sworn would never happen. You can't avoid him forever, Kira said, perched on the edge of my desk. Especially not tonight. Tonight, the Blood Moon Ceremony. The most important pack ritual of the year where bonds were strengthened and loyalties reaffirmed. Every pack member was required to attend. I know. I sighed, shuffling papers without really seeing them. I just need more time. Time for what? Your surveillance is working perfectly. We've gathered more intel in 3 weeks than in the previous year. She lowered her voice. The plan is working, Mia. Was it? I was supposed to be finding evidence of the Mitchells' crimes, uncovering their weaknesses. Instead, I was discovering a pack led by an alpha who protected the weak, who put his members' needs before his own, who led with compassion rather than fear. Nothing like the monsters who had slaughtered my family. I found something, I said quietly, sliding a folder toward her. In the archives. She flipped it open, scanning the old photographs and reports. What am I looking at? Records from 10 years ago, the night my family was killed. My throat tightened. The official pack record says they responded to a territory violation. That the Carters, my family, attacked first. Kira's eyes narrowed. That's a lie. Your father was meeting them for peace talks. I know what my father told me, I said carefully, but look at this. I pointed to a list of wolves present that night. William Mitchell led the attack, but Ryan wasn't there. He was probably too young, Kira dismissed. Maybe, but something doesn't add up. The timeline, the location, it's different from what I remember. You were a child, traumatized? Memory plays tricks. Or someone's lying. I closed the folder. I need to find out what really happened that night. Kira studied me, suspicion creeping into her expression. Don't tell me you're starting to sympathize with them. With him. Of course not, I said too quickly. Mia. Her voice hardened. Remember what they did to your family. Remember holding your little brother while he bled out. Remember your mother's screams. Each word was a knife to my heart. I could never forget. Good, because tonight is a perfect opportunity to access restricted areas while everyone's distracted by the ceremony. She stood, straightening her jacket. I've arranged for a diversion. Check the Alpha's private study. If there's evidence, it'll be there. After she left, I sat motionless, torn between duty to my dead family and the growing doubt in my heart. The Ryan Mitchell I'd come to know didn't match the son of a murderer I'd imagined. He was complicated, honorable in his way, genuinely devoted to his pack. And something about him called to my wolf in a way I couldn't ignore, no matter how hard I tried. A knock on my office door jolted me from my thoughts. I hastily shoved the folder into a drawer before calling. Come in. Ryan entered, filling the small room with his presence. He'd been avoiding direct confrontation as much as I had, respecting my obvious desire for space. But now, the night of the blood moon, he'd sought me out. Busy? He asked, gesturing to the scattered papers on my desk. Just finalizing some details for tonight. I kept my voice neutral, professional. He nodded, then closed the door behind him. My pulse quickened. You've been avoiding me, he said directly. No point denying it. Yes. Because of what happened in the forest? I met his eyes, finding them serious, without their usual flirtatious gleam. Because of what almost happened. The mate bond. He named it plainly, making me flinch. It scared you. It's impossible, I said flatly. You and I, it can't happen. Why not? Such a simple question with such a complicated answer. Because you're my enemy. Because your father killed my family. Because I came here to destroy you. Because I don't want it, I said instead. He stepped closer, not crowding me, but close enough that his scent cedar and rain and something uniquely him filled my senses. I think you're lying, he said softly. To me and to yourself. Heat flared in my chest, anger, fear, and something else I refuse to name. You don't know me, Ryan. I know your wolf recognized mine. His voice dropped lower. I know you felt what I felt in that forest. I stood abruptly, needing distance. One compatible fight doesn't make us mates. You've had plenty of women, Ryan. I'm just another challenge to your ego. The accusation hit its mark. His jaw tightened, eyes flashing gold for a moment. Is that what you think of me? That I'm just collecting conquests? Your reputation speaks for itself. My reputation, he repeated slowly. And what about yours, Mia Walker? The lone wolf who appears out of nowhere, who knows combat techniques no event planner should know, who studies our security patterns when she thinks no one is watching? My blood went cold. He'd noticed. Of course he had. I told you I've had to take care of myself, I said carefully. I want to believe you. His eyes searched mine. But my pack comes first. Always. The unspoken warning was clear. He might be attracted to me, might even believe we were meant to be mates, but if I threatened his pack, all bets were off. Good. It was easier if he suspected me. Easier to remember why I was here. Tonight's ceremony, he said, changing tactics. You'll be there? I nodded. Of course. It's my job. Not as staff, he corrected. As my guest. I stared at him. What? I'm inviting you to participate. Fully. As a potential member of the pack. The invitation was significant. Blood moon ceremonies were sacred family affairs. Outsiders were rarely invited to participate rather than just observe. Why? I asked suspiciously. Something flickered in his eyes, vulnerability quickly masked. Because despite your determination to keep everyone at arm's length, you belong here, Mia. You've earned a place. The sincerity in his voice made my chest ache. No one had told me I belonged anywhere since I'd lost my family. I'll think about it, I managed. He nodded, accepting the non-answer. One more thing. Tonight's ceremony includes the offering of tokens, gifts that represent what each wolf brings to the pack. I know how blood moon ceremonies work, I said without thinking. His eyebrow rose slightly at the confirmation that I'd participated in such ceremonies before. Then, you know it's customary for special guests to bring an offering as well. What should I bring? I asked, suddenly uncertain. His lips curved in a small smile. Something that represents your truth, Mia. The one you're hiding from everyone, including yourself. Before I could respond, he was gone, leaving me with a decision to make and a hollow feeling in my chest where hatred used to burn so brightly. The blood moon ceremony took place in an ancient clearing deep in Mitchell territory. As I approached, the scent of ritual herbs and burning cedar filled the air. Pack members in loose white garments moved around a massive central bonfire, their faces painted with symbols in red ochre. I wore the white dress provided for guests, my hair loose down my back. Around my neck hung my token, a small pouch containing earth from my family's land, mixed with dried wolfsbane, a flower that was deadly to our kind. Truth indeed, my connection to the past and the poison of revenge I'd carried for a decade. Ryan stood at the far side of the fire, magnificent in ceremonial alpha garb, white pants, bare chest painted with intricate red symbols of power and protection. When our eyes met across the flames, something electric passed between us. The elder wolf beside him, Agnes, the pack's record keeper, looked up sharply, her gaze darting between us with sudden interest. The ceremony began with ancient songs in the old language, wolves circling the fire in traditional patterns. Despite myself, I was moved by the ritual's beauty and familiarity, so similar to how my own family had celebrated before they were taken from me. The blood moon calls us to honor our ancestors, Agnes intoned, her weathered voice carrying over the gathering. To strengthen our bonds and remember that pack is family, family is strength. My throat tightened. I shouldn't be here, among my enemies, feeling this dangerous sense of belonging. The token offering came next. One by one, pack members approached the fire, presenting their gifts with words of commitment. Some brought handcrafted items, others natural tokens like special stones or feathers. Finally, Ryan called my name. Mia Walker, our honored guest. Will you share your offering with the pack? All eyes turned to me. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. This was my chance to leave, to reject the invitation, and maintain my distance. Instead, I found myself moving toward the fire, drawn by something stronger than reason. I stopped before Ryan, feeling the pack's curious gazes. He held out his hand, and after a moment's hesitation, I placed the small pouch in his palm. What do you offer the pack, Mia Walker? He asked formally. Earth from my homeland, I said, loud enough for all to hear, to honor where I came from, and those I've lost. Ryan's eyes softened with understanding. He turned to cast the pouch into the flames, but I stopped him with a hand on his wrist. There's wolfsbane mixed with the earth, I warned quietly. Be careful. Surprise flickered in his eyes at my honesty. Wolfsbane could be seen as a threat, yet I'd admitted to bringing it into the heart of their ceremony. Wolfsbane, he repeated loudly for the pack to hear. A poison to our kind, yet a beautiful flower that grows in wild places. Danger and beauty in one. He met my eyes. Like you, Mia Walker. Before I could respond, he carefully tipped the contents into the fire. The flames flared blue for an instant as the wolfsbane caught, sending a shower of sparks upward. We accept your offering, he declared. Your past, your pain, your strength. A ripple of approval went through the gathered wolves. I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders, a sense of acceptance I hadn't realized I craved. The ceremony continued with ritual sharing of blessed wine and a symbolic hunt where wolves chased and captured a deer, but released it unharmed, symbolizing restraint and respect for life. Throughout it all, I felt Ryan's awareness of me like a physical touch. And worse, I was equally aware of him, his movements, his voice, the way firelight played across his skin. After the main ritual, the pack broke into smaller groups around smaller fires, sharing food and stories. I found myself between Agnes and Ellie, the younger wolf chattering excitedly about her first adult ceremony. You've participated in blood moon rituals before, Agnes observed, her wise eyes studying me. Your movements during the sacred dance were too practiced for a first-timer. I hesitated, then nodded. My family observed the old ways. Family, she repeated thoughtfully. Not pack. They were both, I said, grief a dull ache in my chest. Agnes patted my hand. Loss marks us all, child. But the moon's cycles continue, bringing new beginnings. Her gaze drifted meaningfully toward Ryan, who was speaking with his senior wolves nearby, sometimes where we least expect them. I excused myself, needing space from her too perceptive eyes. The night was winding down, pack members drifting back toward the compound in small groups. Soon, only the ceremonial fire remained burning. My chance to search Ryan's study was now, while everyone was either leaving or celebrating. Kira's diversion would start soon. Instead, I found myself drawn to a small cave at the edge of the clearing. Inside, ceremonial items from past rituals were displayed, carved wooden figures, dried herbs hanging in bundles, ancient-looking books, and, on a stone shelf, a collection of scrolls tied with red cord. Pack records, if I guess correctly. Historical documents. Maybe the answers I sought were here, not in Ryan's private study. I glanced over my shoulder. No one was watching. With careful movements, I selected a scroll that looked older than the others, its parchment yellowed with age. The title made my heart skip, the Carter Mitchell Accord. An accord? Between my family and the Mitchells? I'd never heard of such a thing. I unrolled it carefully, scanning the old text by the faint light from the cave entrance. It documented a peace agreement between the families dating back 3 generations. The Carters and Mitchells had once been allies, sworn to protect each other. What had happened? Why would allies turn to enemies? I moved deeper into the cave, finding more scrolls. One bore a more recent date, just weeks before my family's massacre. It described Project Bloodline and contained references to both Mitchell and Carter families working together on something secret. My hands trembled as I unrolled another scroll. This one contained a prophecy about ancient bloodlines uniting to face a greater threat. What did it all mean? Had my family been working with the Mitchells, not against them? Was everything I believed about that night wrong? A shadow fell across the entrance to the cave. I whirled, scrolls clutched to my chest, to find Ryan standing there, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "Finding what you're looking for?" he asked quietly. Words failed me. Caught red-handed, stealing pack secrets. He stepped closer, eyes fixing on the scrolls in my hands. Then he inhaled deeply, his nostrils flaring as he caught my scent fully for the first time without the interference of fire smoke or others around. His eyes widened, then narrowed, turning alpha-red in an instant. "Carter," he whispered, the word falling between us like a stone. "You're Amelia Carter, the girl who was never found." Chapter 6, Ryan Carter. The name hung in the air between us, changing everything. My mind raced, connecting dots I should have seen weeks ago. Her combat skills, her knowledge of pack rituals, her hatred barely concealed beneath cool professionalism. Amelia Carter, the daughter of James Carter, alpha of the pack my father allegedly slaughtered. "Ryan, I can explain," she started, backing away. In one swift movement, I grabbed her arm and pulled her deeper into the cave, away from any potential witnesses. She could have fought. I'd seen her skills firsthand. But she came willingly, perhaps recognizing the futility of resistance. "You're here for revenge," I said flatly. It wasn't a question. Her eyes, wide with fear, but also defiance, met mine. "Wouldn't you be?" The direct question knocked the wind from me. Would I seek vengeance if someone murdered my entire family? Of course I would. I'd burn the world to ash. "How did you get past our security checks?" I demanded instead of answering. "Fake records. Good ones." She glanced at the cave entrance. "Are you going to kill me now? Finish what your father started?" The accusation stung. "I don't kill innocent people. Unlike what you believe about my family." "Innocent." She laughed bitterly. "I held my brother while he bled out. I watched your father's wolves tear my mother apart. There was nothing innocent about that night." Her words painted a horrific picture, one that clashed violently with what I knew or thought I knew about my father. "My father told me a different story before he died," I said quietly. "He said he was framed for the Carter massacre." "Convenient," she spat, "blaming someone else when there are no witnesses left to contradict him." "Except you," I pointed out. "You survived." Pain flashed across her face. Sometimes I wish I hadn't. The raw admission hit me hard. Whatever else she might be lying about, that pain was real. I loosened my grip on her arm, though I still blocked her escape. "Why come here now, after all these years?" I asked. "Why not just kill me if you hate my family so much?" She looked away. "Death was too quick. I wanted to destroy everything your father built, like he destroyed my world. The pack, the businesses, your reputation." Her voice faltered. "And then what? After you've torn everything down?" "I never planned that far ahead," she admitted. "Revenge was enough." I studied her face, seeing the conflict there. "But it's not anymore, is it?" Her eyes snapped back to mine. "What do you mean?" "You've been here for weeks. You've had opportunities to hurt us, to hurt me. But you haven't." "I've been gathering information," she insisted, "but without conviction. Or you've been discovering that we're not the monsters you thought we were." She flinched as if I'd struck her. "I know what I saw that night." "Do you?" I gestured to the scrolls she dropped when I grabbed her. "Those records tell a different story. The Carters and Mitchells were allies once. Something happened to change that." "Your father happened," she said bitterly. I shook my head. "My father wasn't perfect, but he wasn't a mass murderer. There's more to this story, Mia, or should I call you Amelia?" "Mia," she said quickly. I haven't been Amelia since that night. Even in this tense moment, I filed away the fact that she wanted me to use the name I'd come to know her by. Perhaps Mia was more real to her now than the ghost of Amelia. "What were you looking for in these scrolls?" I asked, changing tactics. She hesitated, then seemed to decide honesty was her best option. "Answers. Things haven't been adding up. The official pack record about that night doesn't match my memories." "What differences?" "Location, for one. Your records say it happened at Broken Ridge, but we were at Crescent Valley for the peace talks. I frowned. Peace talks. My father was meeting yours to resolve territory disputes peacefully. Instead, we walked into an ambush. Her voice cracked slightly. At least, that's what I've always believed. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process everything. If what you're saying is true, and if what my father told me is true, then someone else orchestrated the attack and made it look like Mitchell's killed Carter's. Who would do that? And why? I don't know, but we need to find out. I made a decision then, one that went against every instinct of self-preservation. I'm not going to expose you to the pack. Not yet. Surprise flashed across her face. Why not? Because if someone set up our families once, they could do it again. We need to discover the truth before we make any moves. She shook her head in disbelief. You're willing to work with me? Knowing I came here to destroy you. I'm willing to uncover the truth, I corrected. And right now, you're the only link to what really happened that night. A howl split the air outside the cave, alarm, not celebration. Both our heads snapped toward the sound. Something's wrong, I said, already moving toward the entrance. Mia grabbed my arm. Wait, what about me? What about this? She gestured between us. I looked at her, really looked at her. Behind the lies and pain, I saw the woman I'd come to admire. Smart, strong, loyal to her family's memory. And despite everything, my wolf still recognized hers. We have a truce, I decided, until we learn the truth. After that, I left the sentence unfinished. She nodded, accepting the temporary alliance. After that, we'll see. Another howl, more urgent this time. We ran from the cave, all personal matters temporarily set aside. Outside, chaos had erupted. Pack members who had been celebrating moments ago now shifted into battle formation as dark figures emerged from the woods. Black Moon Pack, I growled, recognizing their scent. They're attacking during our sacred ceremony. Ryan, Marcus shouted, running toward us. It's a coordinated strike. They're hitting the compound too. Ice filled my veins. Most of our pack was here, including our strongest fighters. The compound would be relatively defenseless. The pups, Mia whispered beside me, horrified. The youngest pack members had stayed behind with a few caretakers. I shifted instantly to wolf form, clothes tearing as my body reconfigured. Around me, my pack did the same, ready to defend our territory. To my surprise, Mia shifted as well, her silver-tipped wolf taking position at my flank without hesitation. You don't have to fight with us, I thought, forgetting momentarily that we weren't bonded enough for telepathic communication. But, incredibly, her response came clear in my mind. Asterisk children are innocent. Always, asterisk. The unexpected mental connection startled us both, but there was no time to dwell on it. The Black Moon Wolves charged, and we met them head-on. The battle was brutal but swift. The Black Moon Pack hadn't expected such fierce resistance during what should have been a vulnerable ceremonial time. What they didn't understand was that the blood moon heightened our connection to our wolves, making us stronger, faster, more in tune with each other. Mia fought beside me as if she'd been part of my pack her entire life. Our movements synchronized perfectly, that strange connection from the forest now even stronger. Together, we drove back 3 Black Moon wolves, forcing them to retreat with vicious precision. When the last enemy wolf disappeared into the trees, I shifted back to human form, uncaring of my nakedness. Mia did the same, and I couldn't help but notice the pattern of scars across her ribs, old wounds that looked like claw marks. The compound, I said urgently to Marcus, who had also shifted back. Already handled, he reported. Lucas led a group back as soon as the attack started. They caught the Black Moon scouts before they could reach the main buildings. Relief flooded me. Casualties? Minor injuries only. We were lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. We'd been prepared, almost as if we'd known the attack was coming. I turned to Mia, a suspicion forming. Did you know about this? She looked genuinely shocked. No. Why would I? Because it's quite a coincidence. Marcus interrupted, eyes narrowing at her. We find you in a forbidden area with sacred scrolls, and suddenly we're under attack. I had nothing to do with this, she insisted. She's telling the truth, I said firmly, surprising myself with how certain I felt. If she'd wanted to betray us, she wouldn't have fought alongside us just now. Marcus didn't look convinced, but he didn't argue with his alpha. What were you doing in the ceremonial cave? He asked her instead. Mia looked to me, clearly wondering how much to reveal. I gave a slight nod, silently telling her to stick to partial truths. I was curious about pack history, she said carefully. I've never been part of a large, established pack before. And Ryan found you there? Marcus pressed. I followed her, I said smoothly, to invite her to the final ritual. Marcus looked between us, clearly sensing something unspoken. You trust her? He asked me directly, an impossible question with Mia standing right there, her eyes fixed on me, waiting for my answer. The truth was complicated. I didn't fully trust her, couldn't trust her after learning who she really was. But I trusted her intentions tonight, trusted that she hadn't coordinated with our enemies. And my wolf trusted her completely, which was both confusing and undeniable. I trust that she fought for our pack tonight. I answered diplomatically, that's enough for now. Marcus accepted this with a nod, though his suspicious gaze lingered on Mia. I'll coordinate cleanup and increase patrols, he said before walking away. When we were relatively alone again, Mia turned to me. I really didn't know about the attack. I believe you. And strangely, I did, but someone might have. This feels too coordinated to be coincidence. What do you mean? I lower my voice. The Black Moon Pack has been testing our borders for weeks, but they've never been this bold. And tonight of all nights, when we're most vulnerable but also most connected to our wolves, it's almost like they were pushed into attacking. By whom? She asked, catching on quickly. That's what we need to find out, along with what really happened the night your family died. She stiffened at the reminder of our complicated situation. So, our truce holds? I nodded, but from now on, complete honesty between us. No more secrets. A sad smile touched her lips. That might be impossible. We've both been living with secrets for too long. She was right. Trust didn't come easily to either of us. But as I watched her help an injured pack member, tending the wound with gentle hands, the same hands that had fought ferociously minutes before, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever lay between us, hate, attraction, destiny, or some complex combination, it was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Chapter 7, Mia. 3 days after the Blood Moon ceremony, I sat cross-legged on the floor of Ryan's private study, surrounded by ancient scrolls and pack records. My cover was officially blown, at least to Ryan, but strangely, I didn't feel the panic I'd expected. Instead, a strange sense of purpose had taken its place. Find anything? Ryan asked, entering with 2 mugs of coffee. He handed me one before settling across from me, his own space equally cluttered with documents. Maybe. I lifted a yellowed page. This mentions a joint meeting between Mitchells and Carters 1 week before the incident, but no details about what was discussed. Ryan frowned, taking the page from me. Our fingers brushed, sending that now familiar jolt through my system. 3 days of working closely together hadn't diminished the effect at all. Project Bloodline is mentioned again, he noted. That's the 5th reference, but still no explanation of what it was. My father never mentioned any project to me, I said, though I was only 12. Not exactly in his confidence on pack business. Ryan set the paper aside. My father spoke of it once near the end. He said it was meant to protect our kinds, but that it went wrong somehow. Protect us from what? He never said. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd come to recognize as frustration. And now, both our fathers are dead, along with anyone else who might have known the truth. Not entirely true. I had Kira, my handler, but I hadn't told Ryan about her. Some secrets I still kept close, truce or no truce. Kira herself was furious about my new arrangement with Ryan, seeing it as a betrayal of our mission. He's manipulating you, she'd hissed during our last secret meeting. Mitchells are liars by blood. But what if they weren't? What if everything I believed for 10 years was built on incomplete truths? What are you thinking? Ryan asked, breaking into my thoughts. You get this little crease between your eyebrows when you're conflicted. I touch my forehead self-consciously, just trying to reconcile what I've always believed with what we're finding. And I don't know what to think anymore. I met his eyes directly. 10 years, Ryan. For 10 years, I've lived for revenge. It's been my purpose, my reason for getting up each morning. If that was misguided, then what? He asked gently. Then what's left of me? The vulnerability in my question surprised us both. I hadn't meant to reveal so much, but something about Ryan made my carefully constructed walls crumble. He leaned forward, his face serious. What's left is Mia, the woman who protects pups even when they're not her own. Who fights like she was born for it? Who calls me on my bullshit? A small smile touched his lips. You're more than your revenge, Mia. You always have been. His words wrapped around me like a warm blanket. No one had really seen me, in so long. Everyone else saw what I wanted them to see. Kira saw a weapon, the pack saw an employee, enemies saw a threat. But Ryan somehow saw past all the facades to the person beneath. It terrified me. A knock on the door saved me from having to respond. Lucas poked his head in, eyes narrowing slightly at our proximity before his expression smoothed into professional neutrality. That Black Moon prisoner is finally talking, he informed Ryan. You want to hear this? The night of the attack, we'd captured one of their wolves, a young male who'd strayed too far for his pack. For days, he'd refused to say anything about why they'd attacked. Bring him to the main hall, Ryan instructed, already gathering the documents and storing them safely. Mia comes too. Lucas looked like he wanted to object, but knew better than to question his alpha. With a curt nod, he disappeared. You don't have to include me, I said as Ryan locked the study. Your pack already suspects I'm involved somehow. Let them suspect. I need your insights. The main hall was packed when we arrived. News of the prisoner talking had spread quickly. Pack members parted as Ryan entered, many eyeing me with suspicion as I followed close behind. The Black Moon wolf sat in a chair at the center of the room, unbound but surrounded by Mitchell enforcers. He was younger than I'd expected, barely out of his teens, with a defiant set to his jaw despite his obvious fear. This is Kyle, Lucas announced. He's agreed to share what he knows in exchange for safe passage home. Ryan took his place at the head of the circle, gesturing for me to stand at his right, a position of honor that caused murmurs among the gathered wolves. Why did your pack attack during our sacred ceremony? Ryan asked without preamble. Kyle swallowed hard. We were told you were planning to strike first, that you'd uncovered old magic that would let you expand your territory overnight. Told by whom? Ryan pressed. Our alpha got a message. Written proof that you'd found something in the old caves that would make you unstoppable. My blood ran cold. The timing was too perfect. The night I'd been caught in the ceremonial cave with the ancient scrolls. Did this message come with anything else? I asked, earning a glare from Marcus. The young wolf nodded. A map, showing your weak points during the ceremony. Ryan and I exchanged glances. Someone had deliberately provoked the Black Moon pack, using information only an insider would have. One more question, Ryan said. This message, did it mention anything about the Carters? Kyle frowned. The extinct pack? Yeah, actually. It said you'd found their lost legacy, and we're going to use it against all rival packs. Whispers broke out among the Mitchell wolves. Few knew about my true identity, but rumors of connections to the Carters would spread now. That's enough, Ryan decided. Lucas, see that Kyle is escorted to the border with food and water. The meeting broke up amid heated discussions. Ryan pulled me into a side corridor before anyone could corner us. Someone knows about you, he said quietly, and they're using that knowledge to stir up trouble. Kira, I breathed without thinking. Ryan's eyes sharpened. Who? Too late to take it back. My handler, the only other person who knows my true identity and my plan to infiltrate your pack. You've been reporting to someone this whole time? Anger flashed in his eyes. Yes, but she wouldn't do this. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't it? If your goal was to destroy my pack, turning our neighbors against us would be a good start. I shook my head. No, you don't understand. Kira was like family after I lost everyone. She helped me survive, trained me. She wants revenge on the Mitchells too, but not like this. Not endangering innocent pups. Ryan studied me intently. You need to tell me everything about her. Now. But before I could respond, Agnes appeared at the end of the corridor. Alpha, she called urgently. There's been an incident in town. Human hunters. Ryan cursed under his breath. We'll finish this later, he told me. Stay here where it's safe. I'm coming with you, I said immediately. Mia, you said you needed my insights. Let me help. I met his gaze steadily. Please. Something shifted in his expression, respect, maybe, or acceptance that I wasn't going to back down. Fine, but stay close. The scene in town was chaotic. A local bar frequented by pack members had been attacked by human hunters armed with silver. 2 young Mitchell wolves were injured, one critically. I knelt beside the more severely wounded wolf, a woman about my age with a silver bullet lodged in her shoulder. The wound sizzled and smoked, the silver poisoning her blood. Hold her down, I instructed Ryan and Lucas. I need to get out. Without hesitation, I pulled a knife from my boot and sliced into the wound, ignoring the woman's scream. My fingers probed deep, locating the silver bullet and extracting it with practiced efficiency. Wolfsbane, tincture, I demanded, holding out my hand. Lucas looked confused, but Ryan immediately produced a small vial from the emergency kit they'd brought. How did you know we carry that? Lucas asked suspiciously. Because any smart pack would. I answered without looking up. I poured the tincture directly into the wound, neutralizing the remaining silver contamination. It'll hurt, but it'll save her life. The injured wolf gripped my hand. Her eyes filled with pain, but also gratitude. Thank you, she whispered. I nodded, suddenly uncomfortable with the rawness of the moment. It had been automatic to help, to use the skills Kira had taught me for treating silver wounds. But I hadn't expected the surge of protectiveness I felt for this woman. A Mitchell wolf, supposedly my enemy. The hunters? Ryan asked the bar owner, who hovered nearby. 4 of them. They came in asking questions about local wildlife. Then they saw Jamie's pack tattoo and just opened fire. No warning. Did they say anything else? One of them mentioned Carter territory, said they had permission to hunt here. Ryan's gaze snapped to mine, his meaning clear. First the Black Moon attack, now human hunters claiming Carter authorization. Someone was definitely stirring up old conflicts and using my family name to do it. We need to get back to the compound, I said quietly to Ryan. This isn't random. He nodded grimly. After ensuring the wounded wolves were stable and escorted safely home, we took Ryan's truck back to the compound, the atmosphere between us tense with unspoken questions. You handled that like you've treated silver wounds before, Ryan finally said as we drove through the darkening forest. I have. No point lying about it. Kira made sure I knew how to deal with hunter attacks. Professional experience with hunters isn't common. Neither is having your entire family slaughtered, I replied, sharper than intended. Ryan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Is that what you think of me still? A murderer's son. The hurt in his voice made me regret my tone. After days of working together, seeing his dedication to his pack, his integrity in dealing with me despite my deception, I wasn't sure what I believed anymore. I don't know what to think, I admitted, but I know you're not your father. Whatever he did or didn't do. Something softened in his expression. That's progress, I suppose. We fell silent again until we reached the compound gates. As Ryan parked, I turned to face him fully. Someone's targeting both of us, using our family's history against us. We need to find Kira. Even if she's not behind this, she knows more about the Carters than anyone else alive. Ryan nodded slowly. Where would she be? We had a safe house in town. But after today, she might have gone to ground. I hesitated, then made a decision. There's a backup location in the mountains. It's a day's journey from here. Then we leave at dawn, Ryan decided. Just you and me. The fewer people who know about this, the better. Your pack will object to you going off alone with me. A wry smile touched his lips. They already think I'm crazy for trusting you as much as I do. Are you? I ask softly. Crazy, I mean? His eyes met mine, intense and unguarded. Probably. But my wolf has never been more certain of anything. The simple admission sent warmth spreading through my chest. Despite everything, our histories, my deception, the violence simmering around us, something undeniable was growing between us. That mental connection during the Blood Moon battle hadn't been a fluke. It had happened again during the bar incident, brief moments of knowing each other's thoughts without speaking. The beginning of a true mate bond. Get some rest, Ryan said as we entered the main house. We leave before sunrise. I nodded, turning toward my quarters. His hand caught mine, stopping me briefly. Mia. His voice was low, meant only for my ears. Whatever we discover tomorrow, whatever Kira tells us, I want you to know that these past few days, working together, they've meant something to me. My throat tightened with emotion I couldn't express. Instead of answering, I squeezed his hand once before pulling away. As I walked to my room, I felt the weight of my dual loyalties pressing down on me. Tomorrow would change everything. Either my revenge would be validated, or the foundation of my entire adult life would crumble. And either way, I would have to face the growing truth I'd been avoiding. I was falling for the man I'd sworn to destroy. Chapter 8. Ryan. We left before dawn, Mia silent and tense beside me as I navigated the truck through foggy mountain roads. She'd barely spoken since we'd set out, her attention focused on the passing landscape. You still haven't told me exactly where we're going, I said, breaking the silence. South Ridge, near Carter Canyon. She glanced at me. It's named after my family. We used to own all this territory before my father allegedly wiped them out. The unspoken accusation hung between us. It's been abandoned since then? She nodded. Most wolves avoid it. They say it's haunted. Is it? I kept my tone light, trying to ease the tension. A small smile flickered across her lips. Only by my memories. We lapsed back into silence. Despite the circumstances, I found myself studying her profile when the road allowed. Even worried and conflicted, she was breathtaking, strong features softened by full lips and those expressive dark eyes. I'd thought her beautiful from the first moment I saw her, but now, knowing who she really was, she seemed even more compelling. Amelia Carter, last survivor of a once powerful pack. A woman who'd carried the weight of vengeance for a decade, and possibly my true mate if the growing bond between us was any indication. Stop looking at me like that, she said without turning her head. Like what? Like you're trying to solve a puzzle? I smiled slightly. Aren't I? She finally turned to face me. What do you expect to happen today, Ryan? Best case scenario. I considered the question seriously. Best case? We find Kira, and she tells us who really killed your family. We learn who's been using our history to stir up trouble. We stop them. And then, I hesitated. We figure out what this is between us, without revenge and guilt complicating things. She looked away again. And if we discover it was your father after all, if everything I believed is true, the possibility had haunted me since discovering her identity. Then I'll help you find justice. Not revenge, but real justice. What's the difference? Justice brings closure. Revenge just creates more victims. She fell silent, considering my words. Finally, she pointed to a narrow dirt track nearly hidden by vegetation. Turn here. The road grew rougher as we climbed higher into mountains. Eventually, it disappeared entirely into a meadow bordered by dense forest. We walk from here, Mia said, grabbing her backpack from the truck bed. I shouldered my own pack and followed her into the trees. She moved with the confidence of someone retracing familiar steps, though she'd mentioned not visiting this place for years. After an hour of hiking, we reached a small clearing where a weathered cabin stood. It looked abandoned at first glance, but I detected recent signs of occupation, faint boot prints, the lingering scent of smoke. "Stay here," Mia instructed, moving cautiously toward the cabin. I ignored her, keeping pace. "We do this together." She shot me an irritated look, but didn't argue. As we approached the cabin door, she called out, "Kira? It's Mia." No response. "Mia, try it again. I know you're in there. We need to talk." She paused. "It's about my parents. Please." The door creaked open a few inches. A woman's voice, hard, suspicious, came from within. "Who's with you?" "Ryan Mitchell." A bitter laugh. "You brought him here? Have you lost your mind?" "We have a truce," Mia explained. "There's more going on than we knew. Please just listen." After a tense moment, the door swung open fully. A woman in her 40s stood in the doorway, a shotgun held casually but ready. Her sharp eyes assessed me with open hostility before shifting to Mia. "You better have a damn good explanation," she said, stepping aside to let us enter. The cabin's interior was Spartan but organized. Maps covered one wall, marked with territory boundaries and notes. A table held weapons in various stages of cleaning. This wasn't just a hideout, it was an operations base. "So," Kira said, leaning against the table without lowering her shotgun, "the mighty Alpha Mitchell comes to my doorstep. Should I be honored or suspicious?" "Suspicious is your natural state," Mia noted dryly. "But we need answers, and you're the only one left who might have them." Kira's eyes narrowed. "What kind of answers?" "About what really happened the night my family was killed. You know what happened. William Mitchell and his wolves attacked during peace talks. They murdered everyone except you." I tensed at the accusation against my father, but kept my voice even. "That's one version. My father told me he was framed." Kira laughed harshly. "Of course he did. Murderers rarely admit their crimes." "Someone's using our family's history against us," Mia interrupted. "Black Moon Pack attacked during our Blood Moon ceremony, claiming they had intelligence that Mitchell found Carter legacy magic. Human hunters shot Pack members in town, saying they had permission to hunt on Carter territory." That caught Kira's attention. Her expression shifted from dismissive to calculating. "Someone's stirring the pot." "Yes, I agreed. And using Mia's family name to do it. We need to know who would benefit from renewed conflict between our bloodlines." Kira studied me intently, then set down her shotgun. "Let me be clear, Mitchell. I've spent 10 years helping Amelia prepare for revenge against your family. Why should I suddenly cooperate with you?" "Because you care about her," I said simply. "And because if someone's targeting both our families, your vendetta might be based on a lie." She flinched slightly, then looked at Mia. "You believe this?" Mia met her gaze steadily. "I don't know what to believe anymore, but I've seen enough to question things. We found scrolls mentioning an accord between our families, references to something called Project Bloodline." "Project Bloodline," Kira repeated, her expression unreadable. "Where did you hear that name?" "In the Mitchell archives," I said, "and in the ceremonial cave scrolls." "Do you know what it was?" A strange look crossed Kira's face. She moved to a trunk in the corner, unlocking it with a key from around her neck. After digging through its contents, she pulled out an aged leather journal. "This was your father's," she told Mia, holding it out. "I kept it from you because it complicated things." Mia took the journal with trembling hands. "You told me everything was destroyed in the attack. Most things were." Kira wouldn't meet her eyes. "I found this when I went back for survivors." Mia opened the journal reverently, scanning its pages. "These are research notes about werewolf bloodlines and ancient magic." I moved closer, reading over her shoulder. "It mentions Mitchell cooperation. Our fathers were working together on something." "Your fathers were fools," Kira said sharply, "playing with powers beyond their understanding." Mia looked up from the journal. "You knew about this? All this time?" "I knew they were collaborating on secret research. I didn't know details." "Why keep this from me?" Mia demanded, hurt evident in her voice. Kira sighed heavily. because it was easier to direct your anger at a clear enemy than complicate it with your father's questionable choices. Questionable how? I asked. James Carter was brilliant, but obsessed. He believed certain werewolf bloodlines, particularly Carter's and Mitchell's, carried ancient magic that could be awakened through specific rituals. She gestured to the journal. He spent years researching it, eventually convincing your father to join his work. Mia paled. Are you saying my father's research led to our family's deaths? I'm saying power attracts enemies, Kira replied carefully. And your father's found something powerful enough to make someone very nervous. I processed this new information. If they were working together, then someone else must have arranged the attack. Someone who wanted to stop their research and create hostility between our families. But who? Mia asked, frustration evident in her voice. And why now, after 10 years? Are they stirring things up again? A thought struck me. Because we're together. You and me, Carter and Mitchell, working together just like our fathers. Someone's afraid of what we might discover. Kira observed us with new interest. Together how exactly? Mia blushed slightly. We formed a truce to investigate the truth. Bullshit, Kira said bluntly. I see how he looks at you. And you've never blushed like that in your life, girl. I met Kira's gaze directly. We've developed a connection. It appears to be a true mate bond, forming despite our complicated situation. Impossible, Kira snapped. Mate bonds don't form between enemies. Maybe we were never meant to be enemies, Mia said, quietly surprising me. Maybe that was someone else's plan all along. Before Kira could respond, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Lucas. I answered immediately, sensing trouble. Ryan, we have a situation. His voice was tight with tension. Marcus has called for a formal challenge of your leadership. My blood ran cold. On what grounds? Dereliction of duty. Endangering the pack by harboring a Carter. He knows, Ryan. He knows who Mia really is. Mia must have heard with her enhanced hearing. Her eyes widened in alarm. How? I demanded. Anonymous tip, with evidence. Old photographs, records. He's rallied about a third of the pack to his side. They're calling for her head and your demotion. Tell him I'll be back by nightfall. The challenge will proceed according to pack law. I ended the call and turned to Mia. We need to go. Now. What's happening? Kira asked. My second-in-command is challenging my leadership because of Mia. I started gathering our things. If I don't return immediately, it will look like confirmation of his accusations. Mia stood frozen, clearly processing the implications. This is my fault. No, I said firmly. This is exactly what we suspected, someone manipulating events to turn us against each other. Kira surprised me by nodding agreement. He's right, Mia. This timing is too perfect. She grabbed additional weapons from her table. I'm coming with you. That's not necessary. I began. It absolutely is, she countered. I've protected this girl for 10 years. I'm not stopping now, especially if she's walking into a nest of angry Mitchells. Mia touched her mentor's arm. You believe us? That we might have been wrongly blaming the Mitchells? Kira's expression softened slightly. I believe something bigger is happening, and I don't like being manipulated. Plus, she glanced between us. True mate bonds don't lie. If that's really what's forming between you two, it means your wolves recognize each other at the most fundamental level. Nature itself is telling us something. 10 minutes later, we were hiking back to the truck at a brisk pace. I used the time to explain pack challenge protocols to Mia and Kira. Marcus will demand formal combat for leadership. If I lose, he becomes alpha. And what happens to me? Mia asked quietly. I hesitated. Traditionally, a challenger who wins has the right to determine the fate of the previous alpha's close associates. He'll kill her, Kira stated flatly. Not if I win, I said with determination I didn't entirely feel. Marcus was younger and had been pushing for more aggressive policies for years. Many pack members respected his strength. And if you don't? Mia pressed. I met her gaze steadily. Then we run. Together. before the fight even starts. She looked stunned. You'd abandon your pack? For me, if the alternative is watching you die, yes. The simple truth hung between us, changing everything. I would give up my position, my home, my legacy to protect her. The realization should have terrified me, but instead it brought clarity. Whatever had begun between us, mate bond or not, it had become more important than the old hatreds. Kira watched our exchange with a calculating expression. You won't need to run, she said finally. We'll make sure you win. We arrived back at the compound as the sun began to set. A large crowd had gathered in the training yard, forming a loose circle around Marcus, who stood bare-chested in the traditional challenge attire. Wolf challenges were always fought in hybrid form, shifted enough for claws and fangs, but still mainly human. Lucas met us at the gate, looking grim. He's turned about 40% of the pack against you. The rest are waiting to see how you handle this. And Mia's identity? Everyone knows now. He made sure of it, made a big speech about Carter treachery and Mitchell pride. I felt Mia stiffen beside me. Kira moved closer to her, protective. Keep them out of sight until I call for them. I told Lucas. This is between Marcus and me for now. He nodded, leading Mia and Kira to a position behind the main house where they could observe without being immediately visible to the gathered pack. I walked alone into the training yard, the crowd parting silently before me. Marcus stood in the center, his face set in lines of righteous anger. You finally show your face, he called, loud enough for everyone to hear. After abandoning your pack to run off with a Carter spy, I kept my voice calm but projected it to reach all ears. I've never abandoned our pack. Everything I've done has been to protect us. Protect us? Marcus laughed harshly. You brought our enemy into our home. The daughter of the pack that has been our bitter rival for generations. A rival that was once our ally, I countered, before someone deliberately turned us against each other. Murmurs ran through the crowd. This was new information to most of them. Ancient history, Marcus dismissed. What matters is that you concealed her identity. You've been sleeping with the enemy while our pack faces attacks from all sides. I bristled at the crude implication, but kept my temper. Losing control would only reinforce his narrative. I discovered her identity during the Blood Moon ceremony. I said, truthfully. Since then, we've been investigating who really murdered the Carter pack 10 years ago and who's been using that history to stir up new conflicts. Investigating? Marcus sneered. Is that what you call it? Several wolves laughed, emboldening him. Enough talk, he declared. I, Marcus Blackwood, formally challenge Ryan Mitchell for leadership of this pack on grounds of dereliction of duty and betrayal of pack interests. The ancient words hung in the air. Once spoken, there was no backing down without conceding defeat. I accept your challenge, I responded formally. Let the pack bear witness. I removed my shirt and shoes, stepping into the challenge circle drawn in the dirt. Marcus did the same, both of us beginning the partial shift that would give us our wolf attributes while maintaining human form. The rules were simple. Fight until submission or incapacitation. Death was allowed but discouraged. A dead alpha couldn't lead, after all. Agnes, as eldest pack member, stepped forward to officiate. The challenge is accepted. Combat begins at my signal and continues until one submits or can no longer fight. The victor becomes alpha. The defeated accepts exile or subordinate status at the victor's discretion. She raised her hand, then dropped it sharply. Begin. Marcus attacked immediately, launching himself at me with claws extended. I sidestepped, letting him pass before countering with a slash across his back. First blood to me, but a minor wound. He spun, snarling, more cautious now. We circled each other, looking for openings. Marcus was younger, faster, but I had experience and control on my side. You've grown weak, he taunted. Soft for a pretty face and a sad story. I didn't respond, knowing he wanted to anger me into making a mistake. Instead, I watched his movements, noting the slight tell, before each attack, a tightening around his eyes. When he lunged again, I was ready. I caught his wrist, using his momentum to throw him over my hip. He landed hard, but rolled up immediately, teeth bared in a feral grin. Even if you win, the pack will never accept her, he growled. Carter blood is tainted. This time I attacked, driving him back with a flurry of slashes and kicks. He blocked most, but caught a deep gash across his chest. Blood flowed freely, the metallic scent filling the air. The fight continued, brutal and increasingly desperate. I landed more precise blows, but Marcus fought with the reckless energy of someone with nothing to lose. Soon we were both bleeding from multiple wounds, breathing hard as we continued to clash. Then Marcus changed tactics. "Bring out the Carter, bitch," he shouted to his supporters. "Let her see her lover fall." Before I could react, several wolves moved toward where Mia and Kira waited. Lucas and his loyalists blocked their path, creating a standoff that threatened to escalate into a pack-wide brawl. Marcus used my distraction, landing a vicious blow that sent me staggering back. "Your weakness is obvious, Mitchell. You care more for her than your own pack." Something in his words triggered a realization. Marcus wasn't just challenging me out of ambition or prejudice. His rage seemed too personal, too focused on Mia specifically. "Why do you hate her so much?" I asked, blocking another attack. "You never even met her before she came here." "I know her kind," he spat. "Deceitful, power-hungry, just like her father." "You knew James Carter?" I pressed, circling warily. A flicker of something, guilt, fear, crossed Marcus's face. Everyone knew of him and his dangerous research. And suddenly, pieces clicked into place. Marcus was older than me, had been my father's trusted lieutenant. He would have known about Project Bloodline, about the collaboration between our families. "You were there, weren't you?" I said, loud enough for nearby wolves to hear. The night the Carters died. Marcus attacked with renewed fury, but his technique grew sloppier. "Shut up and fight." "What really happened that night, Marcus?" I demanded, blocking his wild strikes. Did my father order the attack, or was it someone else? Someone who wanted to stop their research? "Your father was weak," Marcus shouted, finally losing control. "Making deals with Carters, chasing fairy tales about ancient magic. He would have destroyed everything our ancestors built." The admission stunned the watching pack into silence. Even Marcus seemed shocked by his own words, realizing too late what he'd revealed. I pressed my advantage, both physically and verbally. "So you arranged the massacre. Made it look like Mitchell wolves killed the Carters." "I protected our pack," Marcus roared, charging at me in blind rage. This time I met him head-on. We crashed together with bone-jarring force, both of us slashing and biting. Pain exploded across my ribs as his claws found purchase, but I managed to lock my arm around his throat, driving him to his knees. "Did you act alone?" I growled in his ear, tightening my hold. He struggled, but my position gave me leverage. Others agreed. He gasped, "Your father never knew." The confession rang across the suddenly silent yard. Every wolf present had heard his admission. A plot within our own pack, treason against the Alpha, a massacre blamed on us for a decade. With a surge of desperate strength, Marcus broke my hold and lunged away. But instead of retreating, he turned and sprinted, not toward me, but toward the edge of the crowd where Mia now stood in plain view, her face a mask of shock and fury. I realized his intent too late. "No." Marcus reached her before anyone could react, claws raised for a killing blow. But as his hand descended, another figure blurred between them, Kira, moving with the speed of a seasoned fighter. She took the blow meant for Mia, blood spraying as Marcus's claws tore into her shoulder. Before he could strike again, Mia shifted partially, her own claws slashing across his face with such force that he staggered backward. The momentary distraction was all I needed. I launched myself at Marcus, driving him to the ground with crushing force. This time, there would be no escape. I pinned him with my full weight, claws at his throat. "Submit," I snarled, "or die." For a moment, I thought he would choose death. Then, with hatred burning in his eyes, he tilted his head back, exposing his throat in the ancient gesture of submission. "I submit," he growled, the words clearly causing him physical pain. The challenge was over. I had won. I rose slowly, keeping my eyes on Marcus as guards hurried forward to restrain him. Only then did I turn to Mia, who knelt beside the injured Kira. Is she... I'll live, Kira grunted, pressing a hand to her bleeding shoulder. Though I might have preferred death, if I'd known I'd be saving a Carter just to hand her over to a Mitchell. Despite everything, a surprised laugh escaped me. Then I addressed the silent pack, many of whom looked stunned by Marcus's confession. Today we learned that our history has been built on lies. The feud between Mitchells and Carters was engineered by traitors within our own ranks. I met the eyes of various pack members. Marcus will face justice for his crimes, as will any others involved in the Carter massacre. I moved to stand beside Mia, who had risen to her feet, her expression still processing the revelations of the past hour. Mia Carter came to us seeking revenge for her family. Instead, she found the truth. I took her hand, a public declaration that left no room for misinterpretation. And I found a mate. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Such a declaration was rare and binding. An alpha publicly claiming a mate could not be challenged or denied by pack law. Mia's eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. Instead, her fingers tightened around mine, her silent acceptance more meaningful than any words. The Carter-Mitchell feud ends today, I announced. We move forward as one pack, stronger together than divided. As the pack dispersed, some accepting, others clearly still processing, I turned to Mia. I'm sorry, I said quietly, for springing that on you. But it was the only way to ensure your safety immediately. She studied my face, her expression complex. Did you mean it? About being mates? I met her gaze steadily. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Chapter 9, Mia. 1 week after Ryan declared me his mate before the entire pack, I still felt like an outsider. Some Mitchell wolves had accepted me, especially after Marcus's shocking confession. Others watched me with wary eyes, generations of distrust not easily erased. I couldn't blame them. 3 weeks ago, I'd been plotting their alpha's downfall. You're overthinking again, Ryan said, looking up from the reports scattered across his desk. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. He'd been working tirelessly to identify which pack members had conspired with Marcus 10 years ago. How can you tell? I asked, pausing my restless pacing by the window. A small smile touched his lips. Your scent changes. Gets sharper like pine needles. The casual intimacy of the observation made me flush. The mate bond between us had strengthened rapidly since Ryan's public declaration, bringing heightened awareness of each other's moods, physical states, even occasional flashes of thoughts. We hadn't completed the bond yet. That would require a ritual and physical consummation during the full moon, something neither of us was ready to rush into, despite the growing pull between us. Any progress? I nodded toward the reports. Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. 3 names keep appearing in connection with your family's territory. All older wolves who stood to gain if our packs remained enemies. Where are they now? 1 died years ago. 1 left the pack after my father's death. The 3rd? His jaw tightened. Vincent. He's Black Moon Alpha now. I froze. The same Black Moon pack that attacked during your ceremony? Yes, though back then he was my father's cousin and advisor. Ryan's expression darkened. He disappeared right after the Carter massacre. Everyone assumed he'd been killed, but instead he joined a rival pack and eventually became their alpha. The pieces were starting to fit together. He helped frame your father for killing my family, then used the chaos to establish himself elsewhere. Ryan nodded grimly, and now that we're working together, threatening to uncover the truth, he's trying to eliminate us both. The question is why? What was in Project Bloodline that was worth destroying 2 packs over? A knock at the door interrupted us. Lucas entered, his face tense. We have visitors. Black Moon representatives requesting formal audience. Ryan and I exchanged startled looks. Vincent. Lucas shook his head. His second and emissary. They claim to come in peace. I doubt that, I muttered. So do I, Ryan agreed. But pack law requires we hear them out. He stood, straightening his shoulders, "Gather the senior wolves in the main hall. Mia comes too." Lucas nodded, though I caught his flicker of concern. While he'd been supportive of Ryan's decisions, he's still worried about my influence. "It's a trap," I said after he left. "Probably," Ryan agreed, "but springing it on our terms is better than waiting for their next move." 30 minutes later, we sat in the formal arrangement of the main hall. Ryan occupied the Alpha's chair, with me standing at his right. Not seated as a formal mate would be, but clearly in a position of honor. Senior pack members flanked us in order of rank. The Black Moon representatives entered with appropriate deference, a tall, hard-faced woman and an older man with calculating eyes. Both bowed to the precise depth required by protocol, neither too shallow to be insulting nor too deep to suggest weakness. "Alpha Mitchell," the woman began. "I am Elena, second to Alpha Vincent of Black Moon Pack. We come seeking resolution to recent misunderstandings between our packs." Ryan's expression remained neutral. Attacking during a sacred ceremony seems more than a misunderstanding. Elena inclined her head, "Which is why we come with apologies and an offer of reparation. We were misled by false information." "Provided by whom?" I asked, unable to help myself. Her eyes flickered to me, a flash of recognition and something else, fear, before she masked it. "That remains unclear. Alpha Vincent wishes to discuss the matter personally." "Does he now?" Ryan's voice carried a dangerous edge. "The same Vincent who was once Mitchell Pack, who disappeared after the Carter massacre, who now leads the pack that tried to kill my wolves?" The male emissary stepped forward. "Alpha Vincent anticipated your concerns. He offers his personal guarantee of safety if you meet on neutral ground. To demonstrate good faith, he brings information about the Carter family that he believes will interest both of you." My heart skipped. "What information?" "About Project Bloodline," the man said smoothly, "and about a survivor Vincent recently discovered. A young male Carter hidden all these years." The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. "That's impossible," I whispered. "My entire family was killed. I was the only survivor." "So you believed," Elena said, "but Alpha Vincent has proof otherwise. He will share it only in person." Ryan reached for my hand, steadying me with his touch. Through our partial bond, I felt his concern and skepticism. "When and where does Vincent propose this meeting?" he asked. "Tomorrow night. Moon Bridge. Just you and your—" Elena's eyes flicked to me. "Companion." Moon Bridge was an ancient stone structure spanning a gorge at the edges of 3 territories, neutral ground by centuries-old treaty. "And if we refuse?" Ryan asked, though we both knew he wouldn't. "Then Alpha Vincent will take the Carter mail elsewhere. Perhaps the Eastern coalitions would be interested in a wolf with such unique bloodline properties." The threat was subtle but clear. If this mysterious Carter survivor was real, if my brother or a cousin somehow lived, Vincent would use him as a pawn in whatever game he was playing. "We'll be there," I said before Ryan could respond. "But if this is a trap, or if you're lying about a Carter survivor—" I let the threat hang unfinished. Elena smiled thinly. "Dawn tomorrow then. Come unarmed and alone." She bowed again, signaling the end of formal audience. After they left, the hall erupted in protests. "It's obviously a trap," Marcus argued. "They want both of you isolated." "If there's even a chance a Carter survived, we have to go," I countered. Lucas frowned. "Why would Vincent reveal this now, after all these years?" "Because our alliance threatens him," Ryan said thoughtfully. "A Mitchell-Carter union undermines whatever he gained from turning our families against each other." Kira, who had been silently observing from the side, finally spoke. "There were rumors after the massacre, whispers about a child taken rather than killed. I dismissed them as wishful thinking." Hope bloomed painfully in my chest. My brother was only 5. I saw him fall, but in the chaos— Ryan squeezed my hand. "We'll go, but not unprepared. Lucas, arrange reconnaissance of Moon Bridge tonight. Kira, your knowledge of Carter history might help us identify whether the survivor claim is plausible." The meeting dispersed with preparations underway. As we returned to Ryan's study, I felt his concerned gaze. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," I admitted. "For 10 years, I've been alone. The last Carter. The idea that my brother might be alive, it could be a lie to lure us in," he reminded me gently. "I know, but I have to see for myself." I met his eyes. "Thank you for not trying to stop me." His smile was sad, as if I could. "But Mia, don't get your hopes up too high. Vincent is manipulative. He knows your greatest vulnerability would be family. Just like my revenge was," I said softly. "And look how that turned out." His thumb traced circles on my palm. "You came to destroy me and ended up falling for you instead." I finished when he hesitated. The admission hung between us. The first time either of us had put words to the emotions tangled with our developing bond. Ryan's eyes darkened. He stepped closer, one hand rising to cut my cheek. "I never expected you," he said, voice rough with emotion. "Never thought my mate would come wrapped in layers of secrets and revenge. Disappointed?" I asked, only half joking. "Never." His forehead touched mine. "You're exactly what I need. Fierce, challenging, unafraid to call me out." My heart raced at his nearness, the bond between us humming with shared energy. It would be so easy to close the distance between our lips, to let instinct and attraction take over. But not yet, not with so much unresolved, so many dangers still circling. I stepped back reluctantly. "We should prepare for tomorrow." Disappointment flickered across his face, but he nodded. "You're right." He brushed a strand of hair from my face. "But when this is over, Mia, Carter, we're going to have a long conversation about what comes next for us." As I left to find Kira and discuss what we knew about Carter lineage, I couldn't help wondering if Vincent's offer was legitimate or merely bait for a trap. Either way, tomorrow would change everything. Again. Chapter 10, Ryan. The sunrise painted Moon Bridge in golden light as we approached. The ancient stone structure arched gracefully over a deep ravine, connecting territories that had been divided for centuries. Fitting, considering our purpose here. Mia walked silently beside me, her face a careful mask of neutrality. Only our strengthening bond allowed me to sense the storm of emotions beneath. Hope, fear, suspicion, and a deep, aching need for family that made my chest tight with empathy. "Remember the plan?" I said quietly as we neared the midpoint of the bridge where 3 hooded figures waited. "Trust nothing until we have proof." She nodded. "I'll know if it's my brother." Bond or no bond, blood recognizes blood. I wasn't so sure. 10 years was a long time, and if her brother had been only 5 when taken, his memories and scent would have changed significantly. But I kept my doubts to myself. Mia needed hope right now, not my skepticism. As agreed, we came unarmed, at least visibly. I had a small blade strapped to my ankle, and Mia had insisted on wearing the silver pendant that concealed wolfsbane. Not enough to kill, but enough to temporarily disable a werewolf if pressed against bare skin. The tallest figure stepped forward, lowering his hood. Vincent. He looked older than I remembered from my childhood, his once dark hair now streaked with silver, but his eyes were the same, calculating, ambitious, never revealing more than he intended. "Nephew," he greeted me with mock warmth. "It's been too long." "Not long enough," I replied coldly. "I understand, now, why you disappeared after the Carter massacre. Guilty conscience." Vincent's smile didn't reach his eyes. Always so direct. "Your father was the same, one of his few admirable qualities." Mia stepped forward, her patience clearly exhausted. "You claimed to have information about my family, about a survivor." Vincent studied her with open curiosity. "Amelia Carter, you've grown into a formidable woman. Your father would be proud." "Don't speak of my father," she snapped. "Not when you helped murder him. Is that what you believe?" Vincent sighed theatrically. So many misconceptions. So much wasted hatred. He gestured to one of his companions. "Perhaps this will clarify things." The smaller hooded figure stepped forward, hesitating before slowly lowering his hood. A young man, perhaps 18, with features that echoed Mia's. The same height, cheekbones, the same shape to his eyes, though his were green instead of dark brown. "Hello, sister," he said, his voice uncertain. Mia gasped, swaying slightly. I steadied her with a hand at her back, feeling the shock ripple through her. "Ethan," she whispered. "It can't be." "It's me," he confirmed, though I remember very little from before. I studied him carefully. The family resemblance was undeniable, but something fell off. His posture, the way he stood slightly angled toward Vincent rather than his long-lost sister. "How?" Mia asked, her voice cracking. "I saw you fall. There was so much blood." Vincent answered for him. "I found him near death and took him to safety." The attack was chaos, Mitchells and rogue wolves everywhere. I managed to get the boy away before William's wolves could finish him. The lie was so smooth, so perfectly crafted to match what Mia believed about that night, that I almost admired his cunning. But thanks to Marcus's confession, we knew better. "Interesting version," I said, "especially since we now know you helped orchestrate the attack. That my father wasn't responsible." Vincent's expression hardened for just a moment before he masked it. "Marcus always was weak under pressure. I assume he implicated me before you killed him." "He's alive," I corrected. "Imprisoned but talking extensively." That news clearly unsettled him, though he recovered quickly. Unfortunate, but irrelevant to why we're here. He turned to Mia. "Your brother has been raised in Black Moon Pack, unaware of his heritage until recently. When I realized who Ryan's new companion was, I knew it was time for a family reunion." Mia took a hesitant step toward Ethan. I wanted to pull her back to protect her from what was almost certainly manipulation, but this had to be her choice. "Why now?" she asked Vincent, still keeping her distance from Ethan. "Why keep him secret all these years?" "Protection, of course. The same forces that wanted your family dead would have hunted him if they knew he survived." Vincent's tone was reasonable, sympathetic. "But now, with you aligned with Mitchell power, the time for secrets is past." Ethan spoke up, his voice stronger. "He told me about you last week, that my sister still lived. I've been processing." Mia's emotions surged through our bond, longing, suspicion, desperate hope. "If you're really Ethan, you'd remember Mr. Whiskers." A simple test, but effective. Ethan frowned, then his face cleared. "The stuff Wolf Dad gave me? Gray with one ear missing?" Mia's breath caught. Only family would know that detail. But I noticed something Vincent couldn't hide. The slight nod he gave Ethan before the boy answered the subtle prompt. This was rehearsed. "What do you want, Vincent?" I asked bluntly. "This theatrical reunion has a purpose." His smile turned cold. Direct as always. "Very well." He gestured expansively. "I propose an alliance. Black Moon, Mitchell, and the Carter heirs united. Imagine the power we could wield together." "An alliance?" I repeated skeptically. "After you tried to destroy my pack? After you helped massacre me as family?" "Past mistakes," Vincent dismissed. "I admit my ambition led to regrettable actions, but Project Bloodline was always the greater goal." At the mention of the project, both Mia and I tensed. "What do you know about it?" Mia demanded. "Everything," Vincent said simply. "I was your father's research partner, the third mind behind the discoveries, the third collaborator. Of course, the missing piece." "If that's true," I said carefully, "then you know what they found. What was worth killing for?" Vincent's eyes gleamed. "Ancient blood magic. Power dormant in our lineages for generations. Your fathers discovered how to awaken it." He nodded toward Mia and Ethan. "Carter blood carries the ability to channel pack magic, to magnify it, shape it. Mitchell blood provides the raw power source. Together, we could create the strongest pack in centuries," Mia finished, understanding dawning. "That's why you've manipulated everything. You wanted the research, the power for yourself." "I wanted to protect it," Vincent corrected. "James and William were idealists. They would have shared this power freely, diluting our advantage. I saw greater potential." "So you murder them," I said flatly. "Had Marcus arranged the attack, frame my father, create a blood feud to keep our families apart. Until the right moment, Vincent agreed, unashamed. When the children came of age, when the magic would be strongest, he turned to Mia. Your father's journal, the one Kira kept from you? It contains half the ritual. William Mitchell's notes contain the rest. Apart, they're curiosities. Together, they're power beyond imagining. I felt Mia's shock ripple through our bond. Vincent shouldn't have known about her father's journal. How did you? She began. I have eyes everywhere, Vincent cut her off, including among your closest allies. Kira. He was implying Kira had been feeding him information. The thought was devastating to Mia. I could feel her reeling from the suggestion. What exactly are you proposing? I asked, giving her time to recover. Simple. Ethan returns to his sister. You, too, complete your mate bond, activating the Carter-Mitchell blood connection. I provide the ritual components. We perform the ceremony together and share the resulting power. 3 packs united, unstoppable. It was a seductive vision. I could feel its pull on Mia, the chance to reclaim her brother, to access her family's legacy, to belong to something greater than herself. And if we refuse? I asked. Vincent's expression hardened. Then Ethan remains with me. The Eastern coalitions have expressed interest in acquiring a young wolf with Carter blood, and I release evidence that your father was indeed behind the Carter massacre, evidence compelling enough to turn your own pack against you. A perfectly crafted trap. Refuse, and Mia loses her brother again. Accept, and we bind ourselves to Vincent's schemes with no guarantee he wouldn't betray us once he had what he wanted. We need time to consider, I said, buying space to think. Of course. Vincent was all reasonableness now. Take 24 hours. Return here tomorrow with your answer. He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Say goodbye to your sister for now. Ethan stepped forward hesitantly. I hope you say yes, he told Mia. I've always wanted a family. The raw longing in his voice seemed genuine, even to my suspicious ears. Either the boy was an exceptional actor, or Vincent had manipulated him as thoroughly as he was trying to manipulate us. Mia reached out, touching his cheek gently. I never stopped missing you, she whispered, even when I thought you were gone. The siblings shared a brief, awkward embrace before Vincent led Ethan away. The third figure remained hooded and silent throughout, never revealing their identity. We watched them depart, neither of us speaking until they were well out of earshot. It's really him, Mia said, finally, her voice thick with emotion. He's alive, Ryan. I know. I didn't share my suspicions about how well-coached Ethan seemed. That could wait. But Vincent is playing a dangerous game, using him to manipulate you. Us, she corrected. He's manipulating us both. She turned to me, her expression troubled. Do you think he was telling the truth about Kira? I considered carefully. It's possible. She appeared in your life right after the massacre with very convenient timing, and she kept your father's journal from you. To guide my revenge toward the Mitchells, Mia realized to keep our families apart, just as Vincent wanted. The betrayal cut her deeply. I could feel it through our bond, another fracture in her already damaged ability to trust. We don't know for certain, I reminded her gently. Vincent excels at creating doubt and division. Mia nodded, but the seed was planted. What are we going to do? If we refuse him, I lose Ethan again. And if we accept, we're binding ourselves to a murderer who has already betrayed both our families once. We began the walk back to Mitchell territory in troubled silence. The morning sun no longer seemed bright. The day's promise darkened by impossible choices. We need to talk to Kira, Mia finally said. Confront her about the journal, about how much she really knows. I nodded. And we need to secure my father's research notes before Vincent can access them. If what he says is true, the combined ritual could be dangerous in the wrong hands. All hands are the wrong hands for that kind of power, Mia said, quietly, including ours. I looked at her in surprise. You don't want to reclaim your family's legacy? She met my eyes, her gaze steady despite the turmoil I could feel within her. My family's true legacy isn't blood magic, Ryan. It's the values my father taught me before he died. Courage, loyalty, putting pack welfare above personal gain. She took a deep breath. Things I forgot during my years focused on revenge. Pride and admiration swelled in my chest. This remarkable woman, who had every reason to grasp for power after all she'd lost, understood its corrupting influence better than most. So we refuse Vincent's offer, I concluded. Not exactly. A determined expression settled on her face. We make him think we're accepting, get Ethan away from him, and then we destroy the ritual components so no one can use this blood magic. Ever. I grinned. Deceive the deceiver. I like it. Her answering smile was fierce. And if Kira has been working for him all this time, we feed her exactly the information we want Vincent to hear. As we approach the Mitchell compound, a new understanding solidified between us. No more divided loyalties, no more secrets. Whatever came next, we would face it together. And Vincent would soon discover he'd gravely underestimated the power of our bond. One formed not through ancient blood magic, but through something far stronger. Trust, freely given after being sorely tested. And that was a power no ritual could replicate. Chapter 11. Mia. The confrontation with Kira was worse than I'd imagined. How could you think I'd betray you? She demanded, pacing Ryan's study like a caged animal. After everything we've been through? You kept my father's journal from me. I countered, fighting to keep my voice steady. You directed my revenge at the wrong target for 10 years. Kira stopped pacing, her expression hardening. I believed the Mitchells were responsible. Everyone did. But when evidence suggested otherwise, you still pushed me toward revenge. I pressed. Why? Something flickered in her eyes, a shadow of doubt or guilt. I was protecting you the only way I knew how. Ryan, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. From what? Kira's gaze shifted to him, then back to me. From the truth about Project Bloodline. From what your father was becoming in those final months. A chill ran through me. What do you mean? She sank into a chair, suddenly looking older, tired. James was a good man, a good alpha. But the research, it changed him. He became obsessed, secretive, started performing tests on himself. Tests? Ryan leaned forward. Blood rituals, ancient ceremonies he discovered in texts no one had read for centuries. Kira's voice dropped. The night before the massacre, I saw him cut open his palm and mix his blood with crushed herbs under the full moon. The power it released. She shuddered. It wasn't natural, Mia. I struggled to reconcile this image with my memories of my gentle, loving father. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because you needed to believe in him. You were a child who'd lost everything. Would it have helped to know your father was experimenting with dangerous magic that might have led to his death? Put that way, I understood her reasoning, even if I didn't like it. But one question remained. What's your connection to Vincent? Ryan asked, giving voice to my thoughts. Kira's expression darkened. That manipulative bastard? I've avoided him for 10 years. Yet he knew about my father's journal. About you keeping it from me. She paled slightly. There have been approaches, messages left for me, offers of alliance that I ignored. She met my gaze directly. I never responded, Mia. But yes, he's been aware of us for years. I studied her face, searching for deception. My instincts said she was telling the truth, or at least a version of it. But after so many revelations, I couldn't be certain of anything anymore. We need your help, I said finally, deciding to trust her enough for our plan to work. Vincent claims Ethan is alive. Kira's eyes widened. That's impossible. I searched for survivors myself. We've seen him, Ryan confirmed. The resemblance is undeniable. Briefly, we outlined Vincent's proposal and our counterplan. Pretend to agree, rescue Ethan, and destroy the ritual components. It won't be that simple, Kira warned. Vincent doesn't make mistakes. If he's revealing Ethan now, he has contingencies in place. Then we need contingencies of our own, Ryan said, starting with my father's research notes. Kira nodded slowly. And you want me to help find them? You knew my father better than almost anyone, I said. If you're truly on our side, Help us stop Vincent from using their research to gain power neither of them would have wanted him to have. A long silence followed as Kira considered. Finally, she reached into her jacket and pulled out a battered leather pouch. When I gave you your father's journal, I didn't give you everything, she admitted, opening the pouch. Inside was a small silver key. This opens a compartment in his ceremonial staff, the one lost the night of the attack. My heart raced. The staff is gone, destroyed with everything else. No, Kira said grimly. Vincent has it. I saw it in his quarters when his wolves brought me in for questioning last year. He doesn't know about the hidden compartment, or he would have opened it by now. Ryan and I exchanged glances. This complicated things considerably. So to destroy all the ritual components, we need to get the staff from Vincent, I summarized, while also rescuing Ethan and avoiding Vincent's trap. Impossible, Kira stated flatly. Maybe not, Ryan said thoughtfully. Not if we have help. Dawn found us back at Moon Bridge, but this time we weren't alone. Lucas and 3 other trusted wolves waited hidden in the forest on the Mitchell side. On the Carter territory side, abandoned since my family's deaths, Kira had positioned herself with a clear view of the meeting point. The plan was simple, but dangerous. I would go with Vincent and Ethan, ostensibly to retrieve my father's journal while Ryan gathered the Mitchell components. In reality, I would locate the ceremonial staff and signal Kira when I had it secure. Meanwhile, Ryan would lead Vincent's wolves on a false trail. We'd reunite at moonrise at the old Carter compound ruins, the place where everything had begun and where it would now end. Vincent arrived precisely on time, Ethan at his side, and 4 Black Moon wolves flanking them. The hooded figure from yesterday was noticeably absent. Have you decided? Vincent asked without preamble. I stepped forward. We accept your proposal, with conditions. His eyebrow raised. I'm not in the habit of negotiating from a position of strength. You need us as much as we need you, Ryan countered. The ritual requires willing participants or it fails. That's in both sets of research notes. A flicker of annoyance crossed Vincent's face, confirming our guess. What conditions? Ethan comes with me, I said firmly. Now, to retrieve my father's journal. While I secure my father's notes, Ryan added, we meet at moonrise to perform the ritual. Where? Vincent asked suspiciously. The Carter compound ruins, I answered, where the bloodlines first separated. It's fitting they reunite there. Vincent considered this, calculation evident in his eyes. Finally, he nodded. Agreed, but Ethan stays with me until we reach Black Moon territory. Insurance against betrayal. I'd expected this. Fine, but I ride with you both. I've been separated from my brother for 10 years. I won't wait another minute. And I go alone for the Mitchell components, Ryan insisted. They're hidden where only I can access them. Vincent smiled thinly. Very well, though Reed and Davis will escort you to the edge of your territory. He gestured to 2 of his wolves. For your protection, of course. Of course, Ryan echoed dryly. We locked eyes briefly, communicating silently through our strengthening bond. Asterisk, be careful. Come back to me, asterisk. Always his look promised. As we prepared to separate, Ryan pulled me into an embrace that appeared passionate to observers, but allowed him to whisper in my ear. Moonrise. Not a minute later. If I'm not there, you will be. I interrupted fiercely. We both will. Then I was following Vincent and Ethan to a waiting SUV, heart pounding with fear and determination. The drive to Black Moon territory took less than an hour, but felt like eternity. Ethan sat beside me in the back seat, our shoulders occasionally touching. I studied him covertly, searching for the little brother in this nearly grown stranger. Do you remember anything? I asked quietly. From before? He glanced at Vincent, who nodded permission. Flashes. A woman singing, our mother, I guess. A big tree with a swing. He hesitated. And fire. Screaming. Blood. My throat tightened. I'm sorry you remember that part. Vincent says the Mitchells attacked us, Ethan said, uncertainty in his voice. But you're with a Mitchell now. It's complicated, I said, carefully aware of Vincent listening. Ryan is different from his father. Vincent chuckled from the driver's seat. Young love, so willing to overlook family history. I ignored the bait. Where are we going exactly? My private residence, Vincent answered smoothly, where we can prepare for tonight's ritual properly. The private residence turned out to be an imposing stone house deep in Black Moon territory, surrounded by extensive grounds and patrolled by guards. As we entered, I cataloged exits, noted guard positions, and identified potential weapons, automatic behavior after years of Kira's training. Ethan, show your sister to the guest suite so she can refresh herself, Vincent instructed. I have preparations to oversee. When we were alone in a well-appointed bedroom, Ethan's demeanor changed subtly. He stood straighter, his expression more focused. We don't have much time, he said in a low voice, surprising me. Vincent has the staff in his study, second floor, end of the east hallway. Locked, but the ventilation system provides access. I stared at him, stunned by the sudden shift. You don't support him? A bitter smile touched his lips. I've been his prisoner for 10 years, Mia. He didn't save me out of kindness. He kept me as insurance, as a component in his power ritual. You remember more than you let on, I guessed. He nodded. Everything, including what really happened that night. It wasn't the Mitchells who attacked us. It was Vincent's wolves in Mitchell colors. Dad tried to get us out, but... His voice cracked slightly. I saw them kill him. Saw Vincent give the order. Rage and vindication surged through me. Why pretend loyalty to him now? Survival. The only way to stay alive was to make him think he'd broken me. Ethan moved to the window, checking outside. I've been waiting for a chance to escape for years. When he told me about you, that you were alive, working with the Mitchell Alpha, I knew it was time. My heart swelled with pride and grief. My little brother had grown into a brave, cunning young man. But at such cost. We're getting out tonight, I promised. Both of us. His expression turned troubled. It won't be easy. Vincent suspects your intentions. That's why he separated you from your mate. Ryan isn't. I started automatically, then stopped. Who was I kidding? The bond between us was undeniable. How do you know about that? I can sense it, Ethan said simply. Carter blood recognizes connections. It's part of what makes our bloodline valuable for the ritual. This confirmed what Vincent had told us about Carter abilities to channel and direct pack magic. Then you can help me find the staff? He nodded. But we have to move now, while Vincent is busy with ritual preparations. He's called in his most loyal wolves for tonight. Following Ethan's lead, we slipped from the guest suite into a service corridor. He moved with the confidence of someone who had spent years mapping escape routes, guiding me through the sprawling house via servants' passages and rarely used staircases. How did you know I was coming for the staff? I whispered as we paused at a junction. Because it's what I would have done, he replied. We're more alike than you realize, sister. The easy way he called me sister made my heart ache. Despite everything, despite the years lost, blood recognized blood. We reached a narrow utility closet that Ethan indicated connected to Vincent's study via the ventilation system. I'm smaller, I said, assessing the tight fit. I'll go. No, I know exactly where it's kept, Ethan insisted. You stay here and watch for guards. Reluctantly, I agreed. He removed the vent cover and slipped inside with practiced ease, confirming this wasn't his first time using this route. Minutes stretched painfully as I waited, ears straining for any approaching footsteps. Just as I was about to call for him, Ethan's face appeared at the vent. Got it, he whispered, passing through a cloth-wrapped bundle before wriggling out himself. I unwrapped it just enough to confirm. My father's ceremonial staff, intricately carved wood topped with a silver wolf's head. Emotions threatened to overwhelm me as I touched it for the first time since that terrible night. There's a compartment, I said, remembering Kira's key. Ethan nodded. In the wolf's mouth. But we don't have time now. Guards are changing rotation. We need to move. He was right. The extraction of whatever my father had hidden would have to wait until we were safely away. We retraced our steps toward the guest wing, but as we turned a corner, a voice called out sharply, Ethan, what are you doing? We froze. Down the corridor stood the hooded figure from the bridge. Now revealed, a woman perhaps a few years older than me, with striking features and cold eyes. "Lyra," Ethan acknowledged tensely. "We were just escaping," she finished, stepping closer, her gaze fixed on the wrapped staff in my hands. With that, I tensed, preparing to fight, but Ethan moved forward instead. "You know what Vincent plans," he said quietly. "You know what's wrong?" To my surprise, conflict flashed across her features. "The ritual is our heritage, our right. Not like this," Ethan insisted. "Not with blood on the components." She hesitated, and in that moment I sensed a complex history between them, not just captor and captive, but something more personal. "He'll kill you when he catches you," she warned. "If," Ethan corrected, "if he catches us. You could help Lyra. Come with us." Her eyes widened slightly, then hardened with resolve. "Go. Now." Down the east corridor, through the kitchen gardens. The shift change leaves a 3-minute gap in patrols. "Why are you helping us?" I asked suspiciously. Her gaze shifted to me, assessing. "Because he lied to us all. Used us all." A bitter smile touched her lips. "And because Ethan deserves better than being a component in a madman's ritual." With that, she turned and walked away, calling loudly for guards to check the West Wing. "Who is she?" I asked as we hurried toward the east exit. "Vincent's daughter," Ethan replied grimly. "And, until 5 minutes ago, completely loyal to him. We can't count on her helping again. Come on." We slipped through the kitchen gardens and over a low stone wall, the forest beyond offering welcome cover. Only when we were deep among the trees did I allow myself to breathe freely. "We need to signal Kira," I said, pulling out the small mirror I'd concealed in my boot. Ethan watched as I used it to flash a coded signal toward the ridge where Kira waited with binoculars. 3 flashes, pause, 2 flashes. "Success. Now what?" he asked. I checked the position of the sun. Hours yet until moonrise, but we had a long journey to the Carter ruins. "Now we run," I said, already stripping off my outer clothes. "Wolf form. Faster." He nodded, following suit. As we shifted, I saw his wolf for the first time, reddish-brown with the same silver-tipped fur that marked my own wolf. Carter blood. Together, we began the long race back to where it all began, the staff secured to my back with leather straps, my father's legacy finally returning home. Chapter 12. Ryan. Vincent's wolves were still on my trail, exactly as planned. I leapt over a fallen log, pushing my wolf body to its limits. The 2 Black Moon escorts had become pursuers the moment I veered off the expected path. They'd called for reinforcements, and now 4 wolves chased me through Mitchell territory, thinking I was fleeing with my father's research notes. In reality, Lucas had those safely hidden miles away. My backpack contained only enough papers to make a convincing show if they caught me, old territory maps and meaningless ritual texts that looked important but revealed nothing. The real goal was to keep Vincent's attention on me while Mia secured her father's staff and rescued Ethan. Through our strengthening bond, I could sense she'd succeeded. Determination and triumph pulsed from her end of our connection, though tinged with urgency. I led my pursuers on a circuitous route through the densest parts of our territory, using my superior knowledge of the land to maintain distance without losing them entirely. The sun was starting its descent, only a few hours until moonrise, when we'd meet at the Carter ruins. A howl rose behind me. They were calling in even more wolves. Time to implement the next phase of the plan. I changed direction, heading toward the river that marked our eastern boundary. As I burst from the trees onto the riverbank, I spotted exactly what I needed: Lucas and 2 other Mitchell wolves waiting on the far side. Without hesitation, I plunged into the swift current, the cold water shocking even through my thick fur. The Black Moon wolves faltered at the bank, reluctant to follow into what was technically neutral territory. Their hesitation gave me the lead I needed. I reached the opposite shore, shaking water from my coat, as Lucas tossed me a bundle of clothes. Shifting back to human form, I dressed quickly. "They're staying on their side," Lucas reported, "but they've called in at least 6 more wolves." "Good," I said grimly. The more focused on me, the better Mia's chances. You should have let me go with her, he argued, not for the first time. Vincent would have recognized the deception immediately. This was the only way. Lucas didn't look convinced, but he handed me the satellite phone we'd prepared. Signal from Kira. Mia has the staff and the boy. They're heading to the rendezvous. Relief flooded through me. Half our mission accomplished. Now, we just needed to reach the Carter ruins before Vincent realized he'd been outmaneuvered. What about the Mitchell security detail? I asked. In position around the ruins, as ordered. 12 of our best hidden and waiting. I nodded in approval. While we'd told Vincent we'd meet alone for the ritual, I had no intention of walking into what was certainly a trap without backup. He'd have his wolves there too, of course, but at least the field would be even. Let's move, I decided. We need to get there before sunset to secure the area. We took the vehicles we'd hidden earlier, driving on back roads toward the long-abandoned Carter territory. As we traveled, I briefed the others on our revised plan. Vincent will be furious when he discovers the staff and Ethan are gone. He'll assume they're with me, which means he'll bring his full force to the ruins. Sounds like a great way to get ourselves killed, Lucas commented dryly. Not if we control the battlefield, I countered. The ruins give us advantage. Mia knows every hiding place, every defensible position. Her father built secret escape tunnels that only family knew about. And you trust her to remember them after all these years? I trust her with my life, I said simply. Lucas studied me for a long moment. This mate bond, it's the real thing, isn't it? Not just political alliance. I met his gaze steadily. Yes. He shook his head in amazement. A Carter and a Mitchell. Your father would have a fit. Actually, I said quietly, I think he'd understand better than anyone. From what we've learned, he and James Carter were not just research partners, but friends, maybe even something like brothers. The idea that our fathers had been close, that the hatred between our families had been manufactured by Vincent's treachery, still felt surreal. How different would all our lives have been without his interference? We arrived at the edge of Carter territory as dusk settled over the mountains. The ruins lay in a valley ahead, once a thriving compound similar to our own. Now, only stone foundations and crumbling walls remained, nature reclaiming what violence had destroyed. I positioned our wolves in a wide perimeter, instructing them to remain hidden unless signaled. Then Lucas and I advanced alone toward the central courtyard where the main house had once stood. The bond with Mia pulled stronger as we approached. She was near. Ryan, her voice whispered through my mind, our connection now strong enough for simple telepathic communication. Where are you? I projected back, scanning the shadows. Asterisk northeast corner. Cellar entrance. Come alone. Asterisk. I signaled Lucas to hold position and moved carefully through the ruins. The moon was rising, nearly full again, bathing the broken stones in silver light. Fitting that we should confront Vincent on a night so similar to when this all began. The cellar entrance was hidden behind overgrown vines, invisible unless you knew where to look. As I pushed them aside, a figure emerged from the darkness. Ethan, his young face tense with watchfulness. She's below, he said without preamble. Hurry. I followed him down crumbling stone steps into what had once been the Carter family's emergency shelter. Lantern light revealed a small underground room where Mia knelt beside her father's ceremonial staff, the silver wolf's head glinting as she worked a tiny key into its mouth. She looked up as I entered, relief flooding her face. You made it. Did you doubt I would? I moved to her side, unable to resist touching her, reassuring myself she was unharmed. Never, she said with a small smile. But Vincent discovered our deception sooner than expected. Kira spotted his wolves heading this way an hour ago. How many? At least 20, Ethan supplied. His entire inner circle. I nodded grimly. We have 12 positioned around the ruins. Not ideal odds. We don't need to fight them all, Mia said, focus returning to the staff. Just delay them long enough to destroy what's in here. The key turned with a soft click, and the wolf's mouth opened to reveal a hidden compartment. Carefully, she extracted a small velvet pouch. Inside was a glass vial containing dark red crystals, almost black in the dim light. Blood crystals, Ethan explained, seeing my confusion. Our father's blood, crystallized through the initial ritual, the key component for the final ceremony. And my father's notes? I asked, what do we need from those? Nothing, Mia said, surprising me. Your father sabotaged his own research. The final pages contain deliberate errors that would cause the ritual to fail. He must have realized the danger and created a safeguard. How do you know this? She gestured to the open journal on the floor, beside her. It's all here. My father suspected Vincent was planning to steal their research. The last entry warns that the ritual had become too dangerous, that they needed to destroy the components before someone misused them. The night before the massacre, I realized they were going to destroy everything, and Vincent found out. Mia nodded soberly, which means we need to finish what they started, destroy these crystals and whatever Vincent has prepared. The question is how, Ethan said. Blood crystals are nearly indestructible by conventional means. That's why they're used in the most powerful rituals. Before I could respond, Lucas's voice came through my radio. Ryan, we've got movement. Multiple wolves approaching from the north. 5 minutes out maximum. Understood. Hold positions until my signal. I turned back to Mia and Ethan. We're out of time for planning. Vincent will be expecting us in the central courtyard for the ritual. We need to be there, appearing compliant, while we figure out how to destroy the crystals. Mia's expression hardened with resolve. Then let's give him what he expects. A Carter and a Mitchell ready to complete their bond under the rising moon. While I position myself to strike from behind, Ethan added, he'll be focused on you too. I can get close enough to... No, Mia interrupted firmly. You're getting out of here. Now, through the eastern tunnel. Ethan bristled. I've waited 10 years for revenge. I'm not running now. This isn't about revenge, she said, gripping his shoulders. It's about survival. If something happens to both of us, the Carter line ends. Someone needs to live to tell the truth about what really happened. The siblings stared at each other, a silent battle of wills. Finally, Ethan nodded reluctantly. I'll go to the rendezvous point with Kira, but if you're not there by dawn, we will be, Mia promised, though we all heard the uncertainty beneath her confidence. After brief, fierce hugs, Ethan disappeared into another tunnel that I knew led away from the approaching danger. Mia tucked the velvet pouch into her jacket pocket and picked up her father's staff. Ready? She asked, her eyes meeting mine. Together, I answered, taking her free hand. We emerged into the moonlit courtyard just as Vincent and his wolves arrived from the north. He walked at the center of his pack, his confidence undiminished despite our deception. Predictable, he called as he approached. I knew you'd bring everything here to your ancestral ground. His gaze fixed on the staff in Mia's hand. I see you found my little treasure. My father's staff, Mia corrected coldly. Not yours to keep. Vincent smiled thinly. Just as Ethan was not yours? Where's the boy hiding, I wonder? Safe from you, I said, as he should have been all these years. Vincent shrugged, unconcerned. No matter. I have what I need. He gestured, and 2 of his wolves brought forward a large wooden chest. William Mitchell's complete research notes. The genuine articles, not the decoys you thought would distract me. My blood ran cold. The hidden cache Lucas had secured. How had Vincent found it? Reading my expression, Vincent laughed. Did you really think I wouldn't have contingencies? Spies in your own pack? I've been planning this for a decade, nephew. Why? Mia demanded. Why destroy our families? Why wait all these years? Power requires patience, Vincent said simply. Your fathers discovered something magnificent, but lacked the vision to use it properly. The ritual requires specific participants of the right bloodlines at the right age, with the right connection. His gaze moved between us. A true mate bond between Carter and Mitchell blood, both in their prime. You too are the keys that unlock power beyond imagining. You murdered our families for power? I growled, barely containing my rage. I eliminated obstacles, he corrected coldly, and created the perfect conditions for the ritual. Your hatred driving you apart for years, then bringing you together when the time was right. He spread his hands. Even your bond was part of my design. Nature, guided by careful manipulation. Mia's grip on my hand tightened. Through our bond, I felt her shock and revulsion, and beneath it, a desperate plan forming. The ritual requires willing participants, she said carefully. We're here, ready to proceed. Vincent's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Are you? After learning the truth. What's done is done, she said, her voice steady despite the emotions roiling through our bond. Our families are gone. The future is what matters now. I followed her lead, though it sickened me to appear compliant. We want to know what our fathers discovered, what power our bloodlines truly hold. Vincent studied us for long moments, weighing our sincerity. Finally, he nodded. Begin preparing the ritual circle. We perform the ceremony at the moon's zenith. His wolves moved quickly, arranging stones in a precise pattern while others set up torches around the courtyard perimeter. Vincent himself opened the wooden chest, removing vials and pouches of ritual components. Mia and I were given space at the center of the forming circle, still under close watch, but allowed to speak quietly. What's the plan? I murmured, my lips barely moving. The crystals need blood counteraction, she whispered back. Carter blood neutralizes Mitchell blood magic and vice versa. If we combine our blood with the crystals, it creates a volatile reaction. How volatile? Her eyes met mine, deadly serious. Enough to destroy everything within 20 feet, possibly more. The implication was clear and terrible. That's suicide, Mia. Not necessarily. Her voice dropped even lower. But we need a distraction big enough to clear everyone else away from the center of the circle. I thought quickly. Lucas and the others. On my signal. She nodded slightly. When I raise the staff, be ready to move fast. Time seemed to slow as the preparations continued. The moon climbed higher, its silver light illuminating the ritual circle, now complete with runes and symbols painted in red ochre. Vincent stood at the northern point, reading from William Mitchell's research notes, while two of his most trusted wolves mixed components in a large stone bowl. Carter and Mitchell, Vincent intoned, approach the center of the circle and bring forth your offerings. Mia stepped forward first, the staff held before her. I followed, carrying a small leather pouch Lucas had delivered containing a lock of my father's hair, a traditional component for blood magic involving lineage. Now the crystals, Vincent directed. Mia reached into her pocket and removed the velvet pouch, her movements deliberate and ceremonial. I could feel her gathering herself, preparing for what came next. Vincent's eyes gleamed with anticipation as he approached. Place them in the bowl, he instructed. Both of you together. This was it, our one chance. Mia raised the staff suddenly, the silver wolf's head catching the moonlight. The signal. Instantly, howls erupted from all sides as my wolves launched their attack. Chaos exploded around us. Snarling, fighting wolves crashed through the ritual circle, scattering components and breaking the carefully arranged stones. Vincent roared in fury, shifting partially to his wolf form. Stop them. Protect the circle. In the confusion, Mia grabbed my hand, slicing both our palms with a small blade she'd concealed. Our blood mingled as she pressed the crystals between our wounded hands. When I say run, run, she hissed. Heat built between our palms, a burning sensation that intensified rapidly. Through our bond, I felt Mia channeling something, an ancient power that responded to her Carter blood, directing the volatile reaction building in our hands. Around us, the battle raged. Lucas had reached Vincent, the two wolves locked in vicious combat. Many of Vincent's wolves had broken away, fleeing the unexpected assault. Now, Mia shouted, suddenly shoving me backward with surprising strength. I stumbled out of the circle, just as she raised our clasped, bleeding hands toward the moon and brought the staff down hard against the stone bowl. The world exploded in blinding light. The concussive force threw me several yards, heat searing across my skin. When my vision cleared, the center of the ritual circle was a scorched crater. The components, the chest of research, Vincent's carefully gathered ritual items, all destroyed in the controlled explosion. And Mia! My heart stopped as I scrambled to my feet, searching desperately for her. She'd been at the center, so close to the blast. Mia! I roared, racing back toward the smoking crater. Movement at the edge of the courtyard caught my eye, a flash of silver-tipped fur disappearing into the trees. Relief flooded through me as I sensed her through our bond. Alive. Injured but alive. Vincent, however, hadn't been so fortunate. He lay near the crater's edge, badly burned, his face contorted in rage and pain. Kill them all, he gasped to his remaining wolves. Don't let them escape. But his command fell on deaf ears. His wolves, seeing their alpha defeated and the ritual destroyed, were already retreating. Without the promise of power, their loyalty evaporated like morning mist. I approached Vincent slowly, shifting partially to access my claws. It's over, I said. Your ritual is destroyed. Your wolves abandoned you. And the truth about what you did to our families will be known to every pack in the region. He laughed, the sound wet and painful. You think this ends here? The ritual components can be recreated. The research rebuilt. I planned for decades. A minor setback changes nothing. This does. Lyra's voice came from the shadows. Vincent's daughter stepped into the moonlight, her expression cold as she regarded her father. Your allies have abandoned you. Your pack votes for new leadership even now. Vincent's eyes widened in shock. You? My own daughter? You taught me well, she said without emotion. Power recognizes power. Weakness must be culled. She turned to me. The Mitchell-Carter Alliance has Black Moon support under my leadership. Our packs will no longer be enemies. Before I could respond, a howl rose from the east. Mia, calling to me. Go, Lyra said. I'll handle this family matter. I hesitated only briefly before nodding. Vincent was defeated, his plans destroyed. Whatever justice Lyra delivered would likely be more fitting than anything I could impose. I shifted fully to wolf form and raced toward Mia's call, tracking her through our bond. I found her in human form near the eastern tunnel entrance, Ethan supporting her weight. She was pale, her jacket singed, but wonderfully, beautifully alive. You were supposed to run, she admonished weakly as I shifted back. And you were supposed to get clear before the blast, I countered, gathering her gently into my arms. Carter blood can direct energy, she explained, wincing as I touched a burn on her arm. I managed to shape most of the blast upward, away from me. My father's last gift. Reckless, I murmured against her hair. Brave and brilliant and completely reckless. She smiled tiredly. You would have done the same. Without the blood manipulation skill, I'd be Ash right now, I pointed out. Don't ever scare me like that again. Vincent, she asked. Finished. His daughter is taking control of Black Moon Pack. Ethan looked surprised. Lyra turned against him. Apparently betrayal runs in the family, I said dryly. But she's offering peace between our packs. A new beginning. Mia nodded, satisfaction in her eyes. Then it's truly over. What our fathers started, what Vincent corrupted, it ends tonight. As Mitchell wolves emerged from the forest to report our victory, I held Mia close, marveling at how completely fate had transformed enemies into allies, hatred into love. The blood moon that had revealed her identity now shone on a very different future than either of us had imagined. Not an ending, I corrected softly, pressing my lips to her forehead. A beginning. Chapter 13, Mia. 3 days after the confrontation at the Carter Ruins, I sat on the porch of Ryan's cabin in mountains, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. My burns were healing. Werewolf regeneration had its benefits, but exhaustion still lingered in my bones. After the battle, Ryan had insisted on bringing me here to recover away from pack politics and curious eyes. It was the first real peace I'd known in years. Penny for your thoughts, Ryan said, emerging from the cabin with 2 steaming mugs. He handed me one, hot chocolate with cinnamon, exactly how I liked it. Our strengthening bond meant he often knew my preferences before I voiced them. Just thinking how strange life is, I replied, accepting the mug gratefully. A month ago, I was planning your downfall. Now, you're drinking hot chocolate on my porch, he finished with a smile, settling beside me. Life is indeed strange. I leaned against him, drawing comfort from his warmth. Have you heard from Lucas? This afternoon. The Mitchell pack is settled. Those who conspired with Marcus and Vincent have been exiled. The rest have accepted our new alliance with Black Moon. And Lyra? Can she be trusted? Ryan sighed. As much as any ambitious alpha can be. She's young, wants to prove herself. Peace serves her interests for now. And Ethan? Adjusting. Kira's keeping an eye on him at the compound. He's processing a lot. That was an understatement. My brother had spent 10 years as Vincent's captive, believing himself alone in the world. Now he had a sister, a tentative home with the Mitchell pack, and freedom he hardly knew how to use. I should be there for him, I said, guilt nagging at me. Ryan's arm tightened around me. You will be, but you needed to heal first, physically and otherwise. He was right. The destruction of Vincent's ritual had taken more from me than just physical energy. Using Carter blood magic, even in that limited way, had opened something inside me, a connection to ancient power that still resonated in my veins, demanding acknowledgement. I can still feel it, I admitted quietly. What I accessed that night. It's like a door that won't quite close. Ryan studied me with concern. The blood magic? I thought it was destroyed with the ritual components. The components were destroyed, but the knowledge... I gestured vaguely. It's a me now. Part of me. I met his eyes. Does that frighten you? Should it? I considered the question seriously. My father's journal warned that blood magic changes the wielder. That power corrupts. You're not your father, Ryan said firmly. And you're certainly not Vincent. You use that power to save lives, not take them. His faith in me was both comforting and terrifying. For now. But what happens next time there's a threat? What happens when using that power seems like the easy solution? Ryan took my hands in his expression serious. Then I'll be there to remind you who you really are. That's what mates do. Keep each other anchored. The word mates still sent a shiver through me. Our bond had grown significantly since that night at the ruins, strengthened by shared danger and the blood we'd mingled to destroy Vincent's ritual. But we hadn't completed the final binding, the physical consummation that would make our connection permanent and unbreakable. Is that what we are? I asked softly. Truly, mates. His eyes held mine. What does your heart tell you? I didn't need to search for the answer. It had been there for weeks, growing steadily beneath my anger and suspicion, waiting for me to finally acknowledge it. That somehow, the person I was meant to hate became the person I can't imagine living without. The smile spread across his face, warming his eyes. Quite a predicament for a revenge mission. Catastrophic failure, really? I agreed, smiling back. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. The full moon is tomorrow night. The implication was clear. The full moon was the traditional time for mates to complete their bond. I know, I whispered. We don't have to decide now, he said, though I could feel his hope through our connection. There's time. But was there? Life had taught me how quickly everything could change, how easily happiness could be shattered. 10 years of emptiness and purpose driven by hatred seemed like warning enough not to waste precious time. What happens to the pack if we complete the bond? I asked practically. A Carter as their alpha's mate, will they accept that? Most already have. You proved yourself when you helped defeat Vincent. His thumb traced circles on my palm. But I won't lie, some will struggle with it. Change takes time. And my brother? Where does he fit in all this? Wherever he chooses, Ryan said simply. He's Carter by blood, which makes him family. The pack will protect him regardless of what you and I decide. Family. The word resonated through me. For so long, I'd been alone, convinced my entire bloodline had been exterminated. Now, I had Ethan, and potentially a whole new pack, if I was brave enough to claim it. I need to see him, I decided. Before tomorrow night, I need to know he's okay. With this, I gestured between Ryan and myself. Ryan nodded. We'll go at first light. We sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell, the first stars appearing overhead. So much had changed so quickly. The revenge that had defined me for a decade was now meaningless, the hatred that had fueled me revealed as misdirected. In its place was something I barely recognized: hope, possibility, a future not defined by the past. It was terrifying and exhilarating. The Mitchell compound was bustling with activity when we arrived the next morning. Preparations for the full moon ceremony were underway, wolves moving purposefully about their tasks. Several nodded respectfully as we passed. Others watched with lingering wariness, but without the open hostility I might have expected. We found Ethan in the training yard, sparring with Lucas of all people. My brother had filled out, even in the few days since the battle, proper nutrition and freedom working quiet miracles. He moved with natural grace, his fighting style similar to my own, quick, precise strikes rather than brute force. Lucas spotted us first, calling a halt to their session. Alpha, he greeted Ryan, then nodded to me with what almost looked like respect. Mia. Ethan turned, his face lighting up when he saw me. You're back. I found myself wrapped in a fierce hug that I returned just as tightly. Despite our years apart, despite having just found each other again, the bond between us was undeniable. Blood calling to blood. You're looking better, I said, stepping back to examine him properly. He grinned. Lucas has been helping me train. Says, I fight like a feral cat with something to prove. High praise from him. Ryan noted with amusement. Lucas shrugged, the ghost of a smile touching his lips. Kid's got potential. Raw, undisciplined, but potential. I'll take that as a compliment, Ethan said cheerfully. After Lucas excused himself, Ryan squeezed my hand supportively. I'll let you two talk. Find me when you're ready. Once we were alone, Ethan's expression turned more serious. How are you really? Kira said the magic took a lot out of you. I'm healing, I assured him, leading us to a bench at the edge of the yard. But I wanted to talk to you about something important. I'm healing, I assured him, leading us to a bench at the edge of the yard. But I wanted to talk to you about something important. His eyes, so like our father's, watched me attentively. The mate bond. You're completing it tonight. I blinked in surprise. How did you know? Carter blood, remember? He tapped his temple. We sense connections, and yours with Ryan is intense, even incomplete. The ease with which he accepted this still startled me. And you're okay with that? With me binding myself to a Mitchell? After everything their family supposedly did to ours? Ethan considered the question seriously. For 10 years, I was taught to hate the Mitchells. Vincent made sure of it, though I think he knew I never truly believed it was them who attacked us. He looked away, memories darkening his expression. But I saw Ryan fight to save you. Saw how he looks at you. That's not something you can fake. No, I agreed softly. It isn't. Besides, he continued with the hint of a smile, our fathers were allies before Vincent interfered. Maybe this is how things were always meant to be. His maturity and insight humbled me. My little brother had grown into a thoughtful young man despite everything he'd endured. There's something else, I said hesitantly. The Carter blood magic. I used it that night at the ruins. Channeled it somehow. Ethan nodded, unsurprised. I felt it. The power signature was familiar. Familiar how? He hesitated. Vincent made me practice. Nothing major, he didn't trust me with real power, but exercises to connect with what he called our heritage ability. Carter wolves have always been channels, conduits for pack magic. This was news to me. Our father never mentioned this. Maybe he was protecting us. Ethan shrugged. Or maybe Vincent lied about that too. But the ability is real. I've felt it, and clearly so have you. I rubbed my arms, remembering the rush of power that had flowed through me. I'm afraid of it, I admitted, afraid of what it might make me. Power doesn't make you anything, Ethan said with a wisdom beyond his years. It just amplifies what's already there. And if what's there is anger, pain, the need for control after having none for so long, he took my hand, his eyes serious. Then you have people who love you to keep you grounded. Me, Ryan, even Kira in her prickly way. Tears pricked my eyes. When had my little brother become so wise? So, you're giving me your blessing? I asked, half joking to hide my emotion. As if you needed it, he scoffed. Then his expression softened. But yes, be happy, Mia. After everything, don't you think we both deserve that? I hugged him tightly. This miracle brother returned to me against all odds. When did you get so smart? Captivity gives you a lot of time to think, he said dryly. Now go find your wolf. You have a bond to complete tonight. The full moon ceremony began at sunset. The entire Mitchell pack gathered in the main clearing behind the compound. Unlike the blood moon ritual, this was less formal, a celebration of pack unity under the full moon's light, with bonfires and traditional foods shared communally before the run. As Ryan's intended mate, I stood beside him throughout the early festivities, acutely aware of the eyes on us. The whispers, the mixture of acceptance and lingering suspicion. But there was curiosity too, and even cautious hope among the younger wolves. Nervous? Ryan asked quietly as we watched pack members dancing around the largest bonfire. Terrified, I admitted, I've spent 10 years alone. Joining a pack, becoming a Luna? Second thoughts. His tone was light, but I felt his genuine concern through our bond. I shook my head. No, just adjusting to the idea that happiness might actually be possible. His smile was understanding. I know the feeling. As moonrise approached, energy shifted through the gathering. Wolves began moving toward the forest edge, anticipation building for the run. Unlike humans, werewolves didn't fear the full moon. We celebrated it, embraced the heightened power it brought, the closer connection to our wolf natures. Ryan addressed the pack briefly, the traditional alpha speech before a moon run. I stood slightly behind him, watching how his wolves responded to him, with respect, loyalty, and genuine affection. He was a good alpha. He would be a good mate. When the formalities concluded, wolves began shifting, clothing discarded without self-consciousness as human forms gave way to wolf. Soon, the clearing was filled with wolves of various colors and sizes, all waiting for their alpha signal to begin the run. Ryan turned to me, his eyes reflecting the rising moon. Ready? I nodded, already feeling my wolf stirring beneath my skin, eager for release. We shifted together, our wolves emerging in perfect synchronization. In this form, our bond felt even stronger, primal instincts recognizing what our human minds had taken longer to accept. Ryan raised his head and howled, the signal to begin. The pack surged forward into the forest, a unified wave of movement and purpose. As alpha pair, we ran at the front, setting the pace. The moon run lasted for hours, the pack hunting together, playing, strengthening bonds through shared experience. Eventually, as planned, Ryan led us away from the main group, veering toward a secluded clearing deep in Mitchell territory. We shifted back to human form upon reaching it, the moonlight illuminating the simple preparations that had been made, a ring of torches surrounding a bed of soft furs, traditional for a mate bonding ceremony. If you're sure, Ryan said softly, his eyes holding mine. In answer, I stepped into the circle of torches, extending my hand to him. I'm sure. What followed was ancient and primal, a binding of souls as much as bodies. Under the full moon's witness, we completed what had begun that night in the forest when we fought together, when our wolves first recognized each other despite all reason. The mate bond flared to life between us, no longer a tentative connection, but a blazing bridge linking us in ways I hadn't imagined possible. His thoughts, feelings, the very essence of him poured into me as mine did into him, creating something greater than either of us alone. And with the bond came power, unexpected, exhilarating. The Carter blood magic in me responded to the Mitchell's strength in him, creating a resonance that hummed through every cell. Ancient power, awakening after generations dormant. Do you feel that? I gasped as waves of energy pulsed between us. Ryan nodded, his eyes wide with wonder. Is this what our fathers discovered? What Vincent wanted to control? I think it's what happens naturally when our bloodlines unite. I realized, no ritual needed. Just us. The power settled gradually, becoming part of our completed bond rather than an overwhelming force. It felt right, balanced, nothing like the corrupting influence Vincent had sought to harness. Later, as we lay beneath the moon, still connected in every way possible, Ryan traced patterns on my skin with gentle fingers. Luna, he murmured, the traditional title for an alpha's mate carrying new weight now that it was mine. That's going to take some getting used to, I admitted. He chuckled softly. You'll have time. We both will. I turned to face him, suddenly serious. The power we access tonight, it needs to be protected. Understood. Not everyone would use it as wisely as we intend to. Agreed. His expression matched my own. What do you suggest? We study what remains of our father's research, learn the truth about our bloodlines, about what they discovered. I hesitated, and then we decide whether that knowledge should be preserved or lost forever. Chapter 14, Ryan. 1 month after completing our mate bond, I stood at the edge of the training yard watching Mia instruct a group of young wolves. She moved with fluid grace, demonstrating a complex defensive maneuver that had several of our most experienced fighters nodding in appreciation. She's good, Lucas commented, joining me. The pups adore her. I smiled with pride. She has a gift for teaching. My beta studied me with knowing eyes. And for other things, apparently. The packs noticed the changes in you since the bonding. Changes? I asked innocently, though I knew exactly what he meant. Lucas snorted. You're stronger, faster. Your alpha presence has intensified. He hesitated before adding, there are whispers about Carter Mitchell magic. Of course there were. The effects of our completed mate bond were impossible to hide from those who knew me well. My senses had sharpened, my strength and speed increased noticeably. Pack bonds felt more tangible to me now, allowing me to sense my wolves' emotions with greater clarity. Mia had experienced changes, too. Heightened intuition, the ability to read pack members in uncanny ways, and occasional flashes of precognition that she was still learning to interpret. Together, our enhanced abilities made us formidable leaders, though we were careful not to flaunt the changes. Let them whisper, I said lightly, as long as it doesn't cause problems. So far, it's mostly awe and respect, Lucas assured me. The younger wolves especially see it as validation of the alliance. Proof that Carters and Mitchells were meant to be united. And the elders? He shrugged, some concern about ancient magic, but even they can't deny the benefits. The pack is thriving, our borders are secure, and relations with Black Moon have never been better. All true. Under Lyra's leadership, Black Moon Pack had honored their alliance promises. Trade between our territories had resumed, and joint patrols had nearly eliminated poaching and human incursions. Ethan had even begun diplomatic visits to their territory, slowly rebuilding Carter connections that had been severed for a decade. Speaking of Black Moon, Lucas continued, his expression turning more serious. Our scouts report unusual activity along their eastern border with Silverclaw territory. Large groups moving at night, but attempting to stay hidden. I frowned. Lyra didn't mention this in our last council meeting. Maybe she doesn't know. Or maybe she's hiding something. I finished. Have Trent increase surveillance along that section. Quietly. I don't want to accuse our new allies without evidence. Lucas nodded and moved away just as Mia dismissed her students. She approached me with that slightly crooked smile that never failed to warm my heart, her dark hair pulled back in a practical braid for training. Enjoying the show? She teased, accepting the water bottle I offered. Always. I brushed a strand of hair from her face. Through our bond, I felt her contentment tinged with lingering concern about something. What's troubling you? She glanced around to ensure we were relatively private before answering. I had another dream last night, like the others. The precognitive dreams had started a week after our bonding, vivid, fragmented visions that left her disoriented upon waking. So far, they'd proven accurate, though often in ways we only recognized in hindsight. What did you see? Fire. A cave entrance I didn't recognize. And she hesitated. Vincent. I tensed. Vincent is dead. Lyra confirmed it. She confirmed he was mortally wounded and that she handled the situation. Not quite the same thing. She had a point. We'd never seen Vincent's body. Taking Lyra's word that her father had not survived his injuries from the ritual explosion and her own justice. You think he's alive? I said, not a question. Mia's expression was troubled. I think we should have made absolutely certain he wasn't. Before I could respond, a commotion at the compound entrance caught our attention. Kira was hurrying toward us, her usually composed face tense with urgency. We have a problem, she announced without preamble. Ethan missed his check-in from Black Moon territory. He's 3 hours overdue. Mia stiffened beside me, fear spiking through our bond. He never misses check-ins. Not after what he went through with Vincent. I know, Kira agreed grimly. I tried contacting Lyra directly. No response from her either. I exchanged a significant look with Mia. This, combined with the unusual border activity Lucas had just reported, painted a concerning picture. Assemble a search party, I decided. Small elite team. We leave within the hour. I'm coming, Mia stated, her tone leaving no room for argument. I hadn't planned to suggest otherwise. With our bond, we were strongest together, and if Ethan was in trouble, he'd need both of us. Within 45 minutes, we were crossing into Black Moon territory, Mia and I, Kira, Lucas, and 3 of our most skilled fighters. Protocol demanded we announce ourselves when entering Allied territory, but given the circumstances, we moved with stealth, staying within the neutral zone between formal boundaries. Something's wrong, Lucas muttered, sending the air. No patrols along this section. Black Moon is usually meticulous about border security. He was right. The absence of guards was more concerning than their presence would have been. We continued cautiously until we reached the eastern edge of Black Moon Land, where it bordered Silverclaw Pact territory. Silverclaw was smaller, more isolated, and had little contact with either Mitchell or Black Moon packs historically. Tracks, Kira announced, crouching to examine the ground. Multiple wolves, moving east into Silverclaw territory. Recent within the last few hours. I studied the prints. At least 15 wolves. Moving in formation, not scattered. An invasion force? Lucas suggested. Or an escort, Mia said, quietly, her gaze distant in the way that told me she was accessing her enhanced intuition. Ethan's scent is among them. Faint, but present. I inhaled deeply, focusing my sharpened senses. She was right. Beneath the stronger Black Moon sense was the distinctive Carter signature that both Mia and Ethan carried. Why would Lyra send Ethan into Silverclaw territory? Kira wondered. Without informing us? Let's find out, I said grimly, already moving to follow the trail. The tracks led us deep into Silverclaw land, toward a mountain range that formed a natural territory boundary. As we climbed higher, following a narrow game trail, the scents grew stronger and more varied. Black Moon wolves, yes, but also unfamiliar scents, Silverclaw members presumably, and something else. Something that made my hackles rise instinctively. Do you smell that? Mia whispered, confirming my own reaction. I nodded. Blood. Old blood. Ritual components. Kira elaborated, her expression darkening. Similar to what Vincent used. We exchanged grim looks. If ritual magic was involved, this was even more serious than a simple border dispute or broken alliance. The trail ended at a cave entrance set high on a mountainside. Even from a distance, I could see torchlight flickering within and hear the low murmur of many voices. That's it, Mia whispered, her face pale. The cave from my dream. He's inside, Mia said with certainty. Our bond hummed with her conviction, and I'd learned to trust these intuitive flashes. We need to get closer, I decided. Kira, circle around to the east side. Lucas, take the western approach. The rest stay here as backup. Mia and I will approach directly. Using the terrain for cover, we separated to our assigned positions. Mia and I moved silently toward the cave, her hand occasionally brushing mine as if to reassure herself of my presence. Through our bond, I felt her determination overlaying her fear for her brother. As we neared the entrance, voices became clearer. Lyra's authoritative tone carrying out into the evening air. Alignment perfect this time. The stars and moon are in the exact configuration my father specified. And the Carter boy, an unfamiliar male voice, presumably Silverclaw's alpha. He understands his role. He believes he's participating in a traditional alliance ceremony. Lyra replied, a note of satisfaction in her voice. The sedative in his drink will ensure he remains cooperative. Mia's fury blazed through our bond, so intense it was almost painful. I gripped her arm, silently urging caution. We needed to understand the full situation before acting. And Mitchell, the male voice asked, "You're certain they won't interfere?" "They think Vincent is dead and that I'm their loyal ally," Lyra said dismissively. "By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late. The ritual will be complete, and the Carter-Mitchell power will be ours to command." I'd heard enough. Signaling to Lucas and Kira with a low whistle, I prepared to move. We needed to stop whatever ritual they were planning and get Ethan to safety. But before we could act, Mia gasped beside me, clutching her head as a vision seized her. Through our bond, fragmented images flashed between us, the cave interior illuminated by ritual fires, Ethan unconscious on a stone altar and standing over him, scarred but very much alive. "Vincent, he's here," she whispered, horror threading through her voice. "Vincent survived. He's running this whole operation through Lyra." The revelation changed everything. Vincent's knowledge of blood magic, his obsession with Carter-Mitchell power, and his ruthless determination made him infinitely more dangerous than Lyra alone. "We need backup," I decided, reaching for my phone. But Mia shook her head urgently. "No time. The ritual's starting at moonrise. That's less than 20 minutes away." She was right. Waiting for reinforcements could mean Ethan's death, and Vincent gaining the power he'd schemed for decades to control. We had to act now with the resources at hand. I signaled Lucas and Kira, conveying the new information in terse hand gestures. They nodded grimly, readying themselves for the confrontation ahead. "Stay close to me," I told Mia. "Our bond gives us strength, but only if we're together." She squeezed my hand. Together, she agreed. We approached the cave entrance during a momentary lull in activity. The guards had moved inside, presumably for some part of the ritual preparations. Using the shadows for cover, we slipped inside, finding ourselves in a long natural tunnel illuminated by space torches. The tunnel widened into a large cavern where the ritual was being prepared. At least 30 wolves from both packs were gathered, their attention focused on a central stone altar where Ethan lay unmoving. Beside him stood Lyra, ceremonially dressed in red and black, and next to her, Vincent, dramatically changed from when we'd last seen him, his face scarred from the ritual explosion, one eye milky white and blind, his left arm withered, but unmistakably alive. "At moonrise, the Carter blood will activate," he was saying, his voice carrying in the cavern's excellent acoustics. "With both Mitchell components and my modifications to the original ritual, we will be able to harness the power without a willing participant." "The boy will die?" someone asked. Vincent shrugged, unconcerned. "A necessary sacrifice. His blood carries the pure Carter lineage essential to the ritual. His consciousness is irrelevant." Mia's rage surged through our bond, nearly overwhelming my own control. I held her back as she instinctively moved forward, whispering urgently, "We need a plan. Rushing and gets us all killed." She forced herself to focus, though I could feel how it cost her. "I can disrupt the ritual, the same way I did before, using Carter blood to counteract the magic." "You nearly died last time," I reminded her. "I'm stronger now. We both are." Her eyes met mine, filled with fierce determination. And this time, I have you fully bonded to me. Our combined power should be enough to not just disrupt the ritual, but turn it against them. It was risky, but she was right. Since completing our bond, we discovered that together we could access and direct the ancient magic in ways neither of us could alone. It was what Vincent wanted to steal, but it was rightfully ours, born of true connection rather than stolen through ritual. What do you need from me? I asked, get me to Ethan. Keep everyone else away, while I break whatever binding spell they've placed on him. She glanced toward the altar. Once he's awake, our combined Carter blood can channel Mitchell power through you to create a directed shockwave, like before but controlled. I nodded, trusting her instincts. Then I signaled Lucas and Kira, who had worked their way around to different positions in the cavern shadows. With quick gestures, I conveyed the plan, create chaos and distraction while Mia and I reached Ethan. We waited until Vincent moved away from the altar to consult some ancient text, leaving Lyra temporarily alone with the unconscious Ethan. Then Lucas threw the first diversion, a small explosive device that created a thunderous boom and billowing smoke at the far end of the cavern. Chaos erupted immediately. Half the gathered wolves ran toward the explosion, while others looked to Vincent and Lyra for direction. In the confusion, Mia and I raced from our hiding place straight toward the altar. Vincent spotted us halfway there, his ruined face contorting with rage. Mitchell, he roared, stop them. Wolves turned to intercept us, but Lucas and our fighters engaged them, creating the path we needed. I shifted partially, accessing my wolf's strength and speed while maintaining human form for the dexterity we'd need. Lyra moved to block us, her own partial shift revealing elongated fangs and claws. You're too late, she snarled. The ritual has already begun. I tackled her full force, driving her away from Ethan while Mia leapt onto the altar. Through our bond, I felt her horror at seeing her brother's condition. Pale, barely breathing, with ritual symbols painted on his skin in what smelled sickeningly like Vincent's blood. Cover me! Mia shouted, slicing her palm with a ritual knife left on the altar. She pressed her bleeding hand to Ethan's forehead, closing her eyes in concentration as she muttered words I couldn't quite catch, something old, in a language that resonated with the power humming through our bond. I fought Lyra with every ounce of my enhanced strength, keeping her from interfering with Mia's work. Around us, the cavern had erupted into all-out battle, with Kira and Lucas fighting desperately against superior numbers. You cannot stop what has already begun, Vincent's voice boomed throughout the cavern. He stood on a raised platform, moonlight streaming down on him through a natural skylight in the cave ceiling. The convergence is here. The power will be mine. As if in response to his words, the symbols on Ethan's skin began to glow with an eerie blue light. Mia gasped, nearly buckling as some force pushed back against her efforts. Ryan, she called, her voice strained. I need you. Now. Lyra chose that moment to lunge at my throat. I caught her arm, using her momentum to throw her hard against the cavern wall, buying myself precious seconds. I leapt to Mia's side, pressing my own hastily cut palm against hers where it rested on Ethan's forehead. The connection was immediate and overwhelming. Power surged between us, our mate bond functioning as a conduit for something ancient and primal. I felt Mia directing it, shaping the wild energy with a precision I couldn't have managed alone, while I provided the raw power that fueled it. Ethan's eyes flew open, glowing unnaturally bright as the ritual binding broke. He gasped, drawing in a desperate breath as awareness returned. Now, Mia commanded, grasping both our hands in hers. Together, the three of us, Carter siblings and Mitchell mate, formed a triangle of contact. As moonlight struck us directly through the skylight, Mia released the built-up energy in a controlled wave that radiated outward from our position. Unlike the explosive destruction at the ruins, this was focused, discriminating. The shockwave passed harmlessly over Lucas, Kira, and our allies, but struck Vincent and his followers with devastating force. Ritual components disintegrated, carefully arranged stones cracked and tumbled, and Vincent himself was thrown violently backward, a scream of rage and disbelief torn from his throat. "No," he howled. "I planned for decades. The power is mine." But it wasn't. It never had been. The ancient magic recognized its rightful wielders, those connected by blood and bond, heart and choice. As Vincent struggled to rise, something unexpected happened. The fractured ritual, disrupted at its critical moment, created a backlash. Dark energy rebounded toward its caster, striking Vincent with a force that lifted him from the ground. His body contorted in agony as the perverted magic he'd tried to harness consumed him from within. His final scream echoed through the cavern as his form simply disintegrated, leaving nothing but ash that scattered in the moonlight streaming from above. Silence fell, broken only by the groans of the injured. Black Moon and Silverclaw wolves who had witnessed Vincent's fate immediately surrendered, throwing themselves on our mercy. Lyra, recovering from being thrown, stared at the spot where her father had vanished, her expression a complex mixture of horror and relief. "Is it over?" Ethan asked weakly, still disoriented from the drugs and ritual. "Really over this time?" Mia helped him sit up, checking him for injuries with gentle hands. "Yes," she assured him. "Vincent's gone. For good this time." I surveyed the cavern where Lucas and our fighters were securing prisoners and treating the wounded. The battle was won, but questions remained. How many packs had Vincent corrupted with his promises of power? How deep did the conspiracy run? What do we do with them? Mia asked quietly, nodding toward Lyra and the other captives. It was a complex question. Pack law dictated harsh punishment for those who betrayed alliances or threatened the life of another pack's members. But executing or exiling all these wolves would create dangerous instability throughout the region. "Justice," I said finally, "but with mercy where possible." Vincent was the architect of this evil. Many were likely deceived or coerced. Mia nodded, understanding in her eyes. This balanced approach was why we worked so well together. Her insight tempering my authority, my decisiveness complementing her compassion. Lyra approached cautiously, her posture submissive. "I accept whatever punishment you deem appropriate, Alpha Mitchell," she said formally, "but I ask that you consider the welfare of my pack. Many had no knowledge of my father's true plans. We'll sort out degrees of complicity," I assured her, though my tone remained stern. "But Black Moon leadership will change. You forfeited that right when you betrayed our alliance." She accepted this with a nod, genuine regret in her eyes. "He was my father. I believed I had no choice." "There's always a choice," Ethan said unexpectedly, standing with Mia's support. Though still weak, his gaze was unwavering. "I should know." As our fighters began escorting prisoners from the cave, I pulled Mia and Ethan aside for a private moment. The aftermath would be complex and challenging, rebuilding alliances, establishing new leadership for Black Moon, ensuring Vincent's twisted legacy didn't inspire others to follow his path. But looking at my mate and her brother, seeing their strength and resilience, I felt something I hadn't fully allowed myself before. Hope, not just for peace between our packs, but for a future brighter than the past that had shaped us all. "Let's go home," I said, taking Mia's hand. Our bond hummed between us, stronger than ever after channeling ancient power together. She smiled, entwining her fingers with mine. "Home," she repeated, as if still getting used to the word. Chapter 15, Mia. 1 year later, I stood at the edge of the newly constructed memorial garden, watching as pack members placed flowers beside the carved stone monuments. The afternoon sun warmed my face as I observed the solemn yet peaceful ceremony. "You did a beautiful job with this place," Ryan said, coming to stand beside me, his hand naturally finding mine. The memorial had been my project for the past 6 months, a garden built on neutral ground between Mitchell and former Carter territories, dedicated to all those lost in Vincent's decades-long manipulation. The centerpiece featured 2 stone wolves, one representing each family, standing together rather than in opposition. "They deserve to be remembered," I said simply, "all of them." Ryan squeezed my hand in understanding. Through our bond, which had only deepened over the past year, I felt his pride and love wash over me like a warm wave. So much had changed since that final confrontation in the cave. Black Moon Pack had splintered, then reorganized under new leadership. A council of elders rather than a single alpha, with Lyra serving a period of atonement by working to rebuild what her father had destroyed. Silverclaw territory had been partially absorbed into Mitchell lands, with the remaining wolves integrating into our expanded pack. And our pack had grown in other ways, too. I smiled, watching Ethan lead a group of younger wolves through the memorial, explaining the significance of various symbols incorporated into the design. My brother had blossomed over the past year, finding his place as a teacher and diplomat between formerly rival packs. Thinking deep thoughts, Luna? Kira asked, approaching with her characteristic directness. Though she still technically served as our head of security, she'd gradually shifted into more of an advisory role, her experience proving invaluable as we navigated the reformed pack structure. Just appreciating how far we've come, I replied. She nodded, her gaze sweeping over the gathered wolves. When I pulled you from a massacre site that night, I never imagined this would be the outcome. A wry smile touched her lips. You made it to a Mitchell. Me, actually respecting said Mitchell. Ryan laughed. High praise indeed. Don't let it go to your head, Alpha, she retorted, but without the bite that would have been there a year ago. As Kira moved away to check security positions, old habits died hard. I felt a familiar flutter in my abdomen. My hand instinctively moved to rest on the small but noticeable swell beneath my loose dress. Ryan's eyes softened as he placed his hand over mine. How are they today? Active, I said with a smile, especially the little girl. I think she's going to be a fighter. The pregnancy had been confirmed 3 months ago. Twins, a boy and a girl, due in another 4 months. The pack's joy at the news had been overwhelming, especially from the older members who saw it as the ultimate fulfillment of the Carter-Mitchell alliance. The first offspring of our united bloodlines, children who would carry both legacies forward. Should you be resting? Ryan asked, concern coloring his tone. I rolled my eyes fondly. I'm pregnant, not incapacitated. Besides, I needed to be here for this. I glanced toward the memorial stones, where pack members continued to leave offerings and pay respects. For them, he nodded in understanding, despite our happiness. Today was about honoring the past, acknowledging the losses that had shaped our present. Alpha Luna, Lucas approached, offering a respectful nod to each of us. Over the past year, he'd grown into his role as Beta with remarkable dedication. Everything's in place for the council meeting tomorrow. All 7 regional packs have confirmed attendance. Including Northridge? Ryan asked with mild surprise. The most distant and traditionally isolated pack had been the most resistant to our new regional alliance initiatives. Lucas allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. Ethan's diplomatic skills are apparently quite persuasive. Pride swelled in my chest. Ethan had found his calling in building bridges between formerly hostile groups. His unique perspective as both Vincent's former captive and a Carter heir, giving him credibility that others lacked. Any word from Lyra? I asked. The former Black Moon Alpha's daughter had been working on a specialized project in the Eastern Territories for the past few months. She'll be arriving tonight with her research team, Lucas confirmed. They've apparently made significant progress documenting historical pack boundaries and alliance records. This project had been part of Lyra's atonement, researching and preserving werewolf history to ensure the manipulations her father had enacted couldn't be repeated. By establishing accurate historical records of pack relationships, we hope to prevent future conflicts based on manufactured grievances. As the memorial ceremony began to wind down, I felt a gentle nudge through the bond, Ryan, sensing my growing fatigue despite my protests to the contrary. I conceded with a small nod, allowing him to make our excuses and guide me toward home. Our home was neither the old Mitchell compound nor the rebuilt Carter residence, but a new structure built where our territories met. Symbolic, like so much of what we'd done this past year, of a union our mating represented. You're quiet, Ryan observed as we walked the familiar forest path. Just reflecting, I admitted, a year ago I was consumed by revenge. Now, I'm helping build something I never thought possible. Having second thoughts, he teased gently. I stopped, turning to face him fully. Not for a moment, but sometimes, I still wonder what my parents would think of all this. Of us. Ryan's expression softened as he tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Based on everything we've learned about them, I think they'd be proud. They were working toward unity before Vincent corrupted their vision. He was right. Among the discoveries of the past year had been more of our father's original research journals, revealing their true intentions not to amass power for themselves, but to heal ancient rifts between werewolf bloodlines, to strengthen all packs against growing external threats. I wish they could have seen this, I said softly. The memorial, the alliance, the babies. They do, in a way, Ryan replied. Through us. Through what we're building together. The simple truth of his words settled something restless within me. We were carrying forward not just our bloodlines, but our parents' better intentions, creating unity where there had been division, understanding where there had been hatred. As we approached our home, a small figure darted out to meet us. Lily, a 7-year-old orphaned in the final confrontation with Vincent. She'd been the first of several young wolves we'd taken in, children who needed family when pack structures collapsed. Mom, Dad, she called excitedly, her adopted titles for us still warming my heart each time I heard them. Ethan taught me a new fighting move. Wanna see? Absolutely, Ryan answered, grinning as she demonstrated an admittedly impressive defensive stance for her age. Very good. I praised, but remember what we discussed about when fighting skills are appropriate? She nodded seriously. Only for protection, never to start trouble. Balance in all things. That's my girl, I said, hugging her. Over her head, I exchanged a smile with Ryan. Our family was growing in ways neither of us had anticipated, built not just on blood, but on choice and love. Later that evening, after dinner with Ethan and the household, Ryan and I retreated to our private quarters. The large windows offered a spectacular view of the valley below, with the lights of pack homes scattered through the trees like earthbound stars. Hard to believe where we started, Ryan murmured, coming to stand behind me at the window, his arms wrapping gently around my growing belly. You spilling a drink on me at HOWL plotted my downfall. I laughed softly, leaning back against his chest. You were so smug, so used to women falling at your feet. And then came this immune, irritating, beautiful woman who challenged everything I thought I knew. His lips brushed my temple. Best thing that ever happened to me. I turned in his arms. Even when you discovered I was a Carter, that I'd infiltrated your pack for revenge. Especially then, he said seriously, because that's when I truly saw you fighting against your own heart because of loyalty to your family's memory. Your strength, your determination. How could I not fall in love with that? The bond between us hummed with the truth of his words, with the depth of feeling that had only grown since our joining. What had begun as instinct, wolves recognizing their match despite human grievances, had evolved into something more profound. A conscious choice to love, to build, to heal together. I was thinking, I said, shifting topics slightly, about what to name them. My hand rested on my belly, where our children grew. Ryan's expression softened. You have ideas? I nodded. For the boy, I was thinking William James, for our fathers. For the girl, I hesitated slightly. I was thinking Hope. Hope, Ryan repeated, testing the name. Perfect. As night fell completely, we stood together at the window, watching the new moon rise, a thin silver crescent promising growth, change, new beginnings. Below in the valley, pack members moved about their evening activities, the boundaries that once separated Mitchell from Carter from Black Moon increasingly meaningless. The world wasn't perfect. Some old prejudices remained. New challenges emerged regularly. The power that came with our bond required constant vigilance to use wisely. But together, as mates, as partners, as alpha pair, we faced each day with the knowledge that what we were building was worth the struggle. From revenge to love, from enemies to family, from broken pasts to a future full of possibility. As the babies shifted within me, I smiled, placing Ryan's hand where he could feel their movement. Our legacy, not of hatred, but of healing. Not of division, but of unity. A new moon, rising over a world forever changed. I love you, I whispered, words that had once seemed impossible now the simplest truth I knew. And I love you, he answered. Our bond carrying the depth of emotion words alone could never express. Always. Life had taught me that always was a dangerous promise in an uncertain world. But as Ryan's arms held me secure and our children stirred beneath my heart, I allowed myself to believe in it all the same. Always. Together. Home. The end.